Welcome to another On the Road with Whitman-Hanson Community Access. My name is Kevin Tocci, and we are here at Campanelli Stadium in Brockton, Massachusetts, the Shaw's Center. And today it is the Brockton Rocks Hot Stove Banquet, and they have a great event that's going to be going on here today with panelists including former Boston Red Sox third baseman and manager Butch Hobson. We're also going to see all-star catcher Rich Gedman, who is also with the Worcester Tornadoes in the Can-Am League. Mr. Cecil Fielder, Big Daddy, formerly of the Tigers and of the Yankees. And Pete Incaviglia, who, of course, he at one time was with the, I do believe, Texas Rangers and with the National League champions, the Philadelphia Phillies. That on top of Mr. Butch Stearns. It's all about baseball tonight. Stay tuned as we'll talk with many of these panelists who will be here at the Brockton Rocks Campanelli Stadium. Stay tuned.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and crackers.
We're here with Brockton Rocks owner, Mr. Van Schley, and we're here again at the Brockton Rocks Hot Stove Banquet. How are we doing today, Van?
I'm very excited. We've got a lot of tickets sold. We've got really a lot of exciting people here. We got, a lot of big leaguers and a lot of excited baseball fans. This is spring. This is, I think, yeah.
I know the weather outside hasn't necessarily given us that indication. Talk to us about this year's panel compared to, I know every year the Brockton Rocks try to have a great hot stove. How is this year any different from any other?
Well, this is Chris Carbonucci's idea, and I think it's really a good one. Instead of just having a speaker, we're having a group of independent league managers, and all of them are, big league names that everybody would know. And I just think it'd be exciting for the fans just to find out what goes on in their brain. I mean, we've got just a bunch of very interesting, well-known, famous people.
Right. Now, are we going to hear anything about, I know the Brockton Rocks are kind of retooling this year, kind of going a different direction, kind of going with a little bit of a more home touch with some of the players that have been brought in. Are you excited that we're, just a couple of months away from spring training for the Rocks?
I'm very excited. I think we're going to have a really good team, and you're right, we're going to have more of a hometown feel. Part of it's luck. They're a very good player that played in the American Association, was a local guy who played at Situate High School and a high draft pick, first-round draft pick with the Cleveland Indians, and he's excited about playing here. We've got another couple of players that we haven't signed yet, local, that we'd really be interested in. We've signed a catcher who actually played junior college ball in Brockton at Mattapoisett. So I think it's great to have that type of a feel, because that's really what minor league baseball started off at. It was a hometown flavor. So this isn't an accident. We've had a few breaks to help us do it, but we think it's a great idea.
Last year, team broke the record as far as wins, got into the playoffs, didn't get necessarily as far as I'm sure yourself or your coach wanted to. What are we looking for? Are we setting the bar a little higher this year?
Well, the bar is winning the championship. I mean, we won enough games in the regular season. We had basically 2 bad innings. We had an outfielder who hadn't made an error all year drop a routine fly ball. If somebody said, well, you're going to be 5 runs up in the 8th inning of Eric Gagne, you'd say, well, we should win that game. Our closer lost the game. And we were back on our heels. But we fought back. We got a little bit closer, but we're ready to go win it all.
Any particular panelists you're looking forward to hearing this evening, or anybody that you already know from your experience being here as an owner in this Can-Am League that you're already anticipating?
Well, I like all of them. I mean, that sounds diplomatic, but I'm more interested in what the interplay between them is. I just like to hear them chatting. This is the type of stuff you'd hear, over a couple of beers over at O'Leary's. So I think that's to me the more interesting than just a specific thing they have to say. I just want to hear the dialogue they have between each other.
All right. Anything in closing to any of your Rocks fans who are getting ready for the season?
Well, we're very excited about the year. We want to thank all our fans for the support last year, and with some terrible weather, we can't do much about it this year, but we're going to have a good team. We're going to have, I think, a lot of the energy that we lost the last couple of years because of the bad weather and all the economic bad news has left, and we're going to have a very positive year.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Welcome back. We're here with Boston Red Sox third base great and former manager, independent baseball. There's a long list. Affiliate ball with the you have a Maryland team that you're with now,
Right.
and you're here in Brockton. Talk to us about being a part of this panel tonight.
Well, it's number one. It's always exciting to come back to Boston because it's one of my favorite places to be, and I grew up with the Red Sox organization, which is my family, and had a chance to play and manage the Red Sox, which can't get much better than that. And this is my second opportunity to come up and be a part of the hot stove dinner here in Brockton, and I'm excited about it.
Now, you've seen some other former Major League Baseball players. Cecil Fielder is here, Pete Incaviglia, Rich Gedman, and of course, friend Chris Carminucci.
Yeah.
Talk to me about seeing some of these guys.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was managing in Boston when Cecil was playing in Detroit, and Pete played for me in Nashua at the end of his career, and of course Getty, being a Red Sox guy himself, and we managed against each other when I was in Nashua, and he was, of course, it's the manager in Worcester, and I got to know Nooch actually on a trip to Japan a few years ago, and then. He became manager of the Atlantic City Surf. So it's going to be a fun night. We'll get a chance to talk about baseball, even though it's still cold and most of the snow is gone out here, which you promised me that would happen.
It's all gone.
When I got here, so which is a good thing, and I held you to that,
Yeah.
and that's good. So, like I say, I'm glad to be back in New England because I consider it a home. Away from home,
Yeah.
and always have a chance to see a lot of old friends. It's great.
And actually, baseball has kind of gone on to your son. You and I were talking not too long ago, a couple of days ago, about your son. And did we see your son here? Did any family make it out with you?
You know, he might have come up, which he probably did because he traveled with me a lot. When he was younger. You know, he just graduated from high school last year. He was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays in the 6th round and signed at the end of August or towards the middle of August, and he's left for spring training yesterday to start his professional career. He's excited, and I'm excited for him.
Yeah. What is that now? What is he as far as in baseball? What is he taking for a position? Did he follow after Dad? Is he an infielder, outfielder?
Well, he's a lefty, so he can't play third,
Okay.
and so he is basically a first baseman. They drafted him as an outfielder, but he's in the instructional league, they told him they wanted him to play first, which he was really excited about because that's been his position forever. I mean, he, of course, was a pitcher because he's left-handed, but
Right.
he hates pitching.
Okay. Talk to us some of the things that not only that you may have taught your son to get him into baseball, into the big leagues, and working in independent baseball, and some of the things that you're teaching some of these with the Maryland team that you're currently managing.
Well, I've said this many times that I'm a firm believer in the independent leagues. We do send a lot of players back to organizations, whether or not they get re-signed the next year or not. I mean, we were very fortunate last year in Maryland. We sent 12 players back to organizations, which is the most ever for me as a manager of a team. A lot of young players, they get injured or on rehab. A lot of young players don't mature until sometimes they're 26 or 27 and going to independent baseball and having that opportunity to show that they can really play or still play or haven't learned to play yet or they've been injured and showing teams that they're healthy. So, as far as Casey, he's been at the ballpark. He understands. I try to teach life after baseball because there is life after baseball to players that play independent baseball because that's what Coach Bryant always taught us, and I've tried to stay that way. And as long as I manage, I'm going to stay that way. And if it gets me fired, and it gets me fired, that's okay.
Being a guy who loved being a Boston Red Sox, talk to us about the Red Sox finally winning it and you being a part of that in some capacity.
Well, you know, the Red Sox organization and you know, with the ownership coming in and doing what they did and bringing, you know, at that point in time, you know, I had a chance to come back and be a part of the parade, which was very kind of them to ask. And they invited us up for the ring ceremonies to get that ring, and just a really fun atmosphere for a lot of us old guys or former players that had that opportunity, and they made us feel a part. And I think it's wonderful. It's just an example of the class the Boston Red Sox are, and they've always been.
Favorite player that you either played with, coached in the major leagues?
Wow. I played with a lot of great players.
Some of you still keep in touch with?
Well, you know, but it's just funny that Major League Baseball players don't really, I mean, we know the baseball is a really family-oriented sport, and we know that each one of us knows that if one of us is having a problem, we got to just pick up the phone and call. I think after you spend, you know, 162 days together plus spring training, sometimes you get home and it's time to be with the family. You know, I see Dwight, and I see Jimmy, and I see Louie. Louie, I mean, I love playing with Louie Tion. I love playing with Rice and Evans. You know, they lockered me next to Yaz growing up, and you know what a character he was. You know, as far as players I managed, Jeff Bagwell was one of my favorite guys. You know, I had a chance to be with Mo most of the time when he came up, and a lot of the young players coming up in the organization. But you know, baseball as a whole is a family, and you guys know that if somebody's having a hard time, I'll get to pick up the phone and call, and somebody's going to be there.
Probably one of the last questions I'll ask you. Talk to me about what you're looking forward to this evening with a lot of Brockton Rocks fans who remember you from your time in the Can-Am League and those former people who are diehard Red Sox fans.
Well, you know, I think this time of year, and there goes my phone. I forgot to turn it off. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, it's probably my agent calling. I'm trying to get a new contract.
Take two.
Not
Go
really.
Ahead.
You know, it's going to be fun being up with Pete, you know, and Cecil and Chris and the young players that play here. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really sorry for my phone ringing. I called myself turning it off before I came up here to talk to you. So I promise, you promised me no more snow. I promise you it won't happen again.
Thank you very much, Butch. Oh, welcome back. We are here with Pete Incaviglia, all the way up from Texas. What do you think of the place?
It's a beautiful place, beautiful facility. You know, we built a brand new place out down at our place a couple years ago, which is really nice. But this is very nice, beautiful complex, and very impressed with the ballpark.
Talk to us back in your day playing ball. Now we had your good friends from what I understand with Mr. Ed Noddle.
Yeah.
And he was actually on our radio station this morning joking around that you are the guy in the major leagues of all guys whose last name starts with the letter I that you have the most home runs. That's a pretty impressive stat.
Well, I don't know. I think with that and I probably can get a shin guard and a face mask in a trade for that. But Ed's a lot of fun. Ed's what baseball is all about. You know, I mean, there's passion and love for the game there, and that's what I do. You know, I do this pretty much the same thing Ed does. I'm managing an independent ball club in Dallas, Texas, and the
Air Hogs.
Yeah, the Air Hogs, and I love what I do. You know, I mean, I love putting the uniform every day. I love managing, and I live in Dallas, so it's just a perfect fit for me.
How did you get involved with independent ball? What was it that struck you? Said, you know what, I want to kind of pass on, what I've done. Maybe some of the things that I can help another ball player maybe make it up to the bigs.
Well, I mean, the reason why I was in player development for several years with the Detroit Tigers, and I wanted to get closer to home and miss my family and my wife. And Chris Carmenucci gave me a call. They were putting a new team out in Grand Prairie, and I met with the ownership. Matter of fact, they flew me to Pensacola, met in a snack shack, and they hired me on the spot, and I've been in it ever since. I mean, I just prefer the independent side because the affiliated side, there's a lot of political stuff you have to deal with there. And the independent side, pretty much everything that pertains to baseball, starts and stops with me. And that's kind of the way I like it. The best players play. You know, there's really no political view to anything. When you get an affiliated ball, there's a little political stuff in there where you guys are making so much money and have to play and are placed, and guys that are late round draft pick probably don't get the same amount of chances as the other guys. So I prefer the independent side more than the affiliated side, to be honest with you.
Now, you get to hit Cecil Fielders here. You got Butch Hobson, Rich Gedman. Talk to me about any relationships with any of these guys who are going to be on the panel with you tonight.
Well, you know, me and Seth, alias Big Daddy is what we called him. We played together in '91. I was with the Phillies when Hobby was managing in Scranton, so I know Hobby from spring training. And Getty, I played against all the time when he was catching for the Sox. So, you know, we all know each other very well. You know, Butch is now a manager of a team in the Atlantic League, so we talk all the time about players. And you know, Getty's doing the same thing, so we talk about players all the time. And you know, I've known Seth since our rookie year in '86, and from being teammates in '91. So I have a great relationship with all three of them.
Now, talk to us about relationship with independent ball. Now, I think recently you got a couple of fine players from the Brockton Rocks. You want to talk to me about any acquisitions that the Air Hogs have made?
Well, we haven't. I don't think we've picked up anything from Brockton, but I sent a player here. His name is Michael Conroy. Grew up here in Brockton. Was one of my best players. Hit 315, 320 for me every year. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing him. I know he's here somewhere. He's going to be here tonight, but he plays the game the right way and does it very, you know, I mean, he's just an unbelievable player. And, you know, Brockton's getting a real good player and somebody here that grew up. And, you know, I think that's going to be great for Michael.
What are you looking forward to from the crowd tonight?
Well, I don't know. I mean, just to have fun and relax and, you know, talk a little baseball and have a little fun.
Any interesting memories of your time when you played against any of the Boston Red Sox teams back in the day?
Well, yeah, there's quite a few. I'm trying to pick out one, you know, but I played 5 years with the Texas Rangers, so we came in here every year and played a year in Detroit, and you know, I spent several years in the American League. So I'm going to try and find one that may be a lot of fun for the crowd to listen to.
Anything in closing, my friend?
Nothing. Just happy to be here. Glad we didn't get any snow, which I kind of hear is a little weird because New York's getting hammered and we're not. So I'm just happy that the weather held out and we're going to have a good time tonight.
Thank you, Mr.
Root
Incaviello.
for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
We are here right now with bench coach. From what I understand, you actually have a bunch of new titles now. Mr. Baseball himself here in Brockton, Mr. Ed Noddle. Hello, sir.
Thank you. It's very good to be back in Brockton, and whatever the position is, I'm 70. Whatever position they tell me to get into, I will.
We get some great people here at the Brockton Rocks Hut Stove, do we not?
Oh, I'll tell you, and I'm not sure if people realize, over the years, think about it, now we got 4 big leaguers with us tonight. Jim Rice has been here on our nights. Freddie Lynn was here on our nights. This is one of the best minor league get-togethers I've ever been involved with, and I'm very tickled pink that Chris brought me out this year.
Talk to us some of your special memories of whether it's Butch Hobson, whether it's Richie Gedman, you know, interactions with Cecil Fielder, anything.
Well, I would say Getty I've always enjoyed, and I love managing against him, and now I love coaching against him. He loves the game. But Butch Hobson, it was funny, when I was at Pawtucket and went up to, I thought, be in the running for the Boston job, I was offered a coaching position by Joe Morgan and turned it down. I'd never wanted to coach in the big leagues, to be honest. I always wanted to manage. And then when I went back to Pawtucket, I forgot that Mr. Hobson was below me in Double-A. So I didn't last too much longer in Pawtucket. But Butch has always been a good friend and great. I love people who play hard-nosed baseball, and Butch has been a gamer. Everybody that's ever been a fan of the Red Sox knows that. Cecil Fielder. I enjoyed him so much at Atlantic City. I never knew him before then. And I've just always enjoyed being with Cess. And again, you're talking about a room full of love of the game. And that includes our manager, Chris Carminucci. So I just get a kick out of being around this part of it. I did make a promise to my wife last year. I said, 50 years in a game, when I turn 70, I'm getting out and I'm done. Well, that took place. That took place. And then I had to break the news that, well, Chris says I might have a contract coming back. And so we got a new goal now, 55 years, 75. We'll see what happens.
You know, speaking of that, you know, there was some times during the winter that we weren't too sure if the Brockton Rocks organization was going to be able to pull through. The Can-Am League was going to still be in existence. It's good to see that everybody's coming back. There's been a few transactions. We've seen some good guys like Craig Anderson go. John Kelly's no longer here, but the Rocks have also brought in some talent, some local guys. Kind of talk to us about that.
Well, I think the one thing that, and I've always been, in a lot of cases, too much quotable, but everybody knows what I think. I wasn't born in Brockton, but I should have been, and it's that simple. And I really think when all the things that have taken place, a lot of it has to do with Chris Carminucci and Van Sly. Van fired me and he rehired me, so I love him. But I think you have to understand that there are plus factors. We're going through a time in the United States, forget baseball, we're tough for everybody. Yep. And we all understand that. But I do think that the new people he brought in, but I don't think people realize Chris's role throughout this, besides being the manager of the ball club, of putting things together and getting people involved. And John Kelly, I love to death. The only thing I'll say is last year I was a bench coach. I never quite figured that out. I used to tell people, they'd say, well, what's a bench coach? I said, well, when the guys go on the field, I straighten the benches up. But I never really figured out what a bench coach was. But I am the pitching coach this year. I was pitching coach for 7 years. I pitched for 15 years. Be perfectly honest, Chris and I had a long conversation this winter as things were coming together. Yep. And I had a couple opportunities. I'm a manager. I've been a manager for 35 years. That's the only manager in the world that I'm going to coach for the rest of my life. But I have goals of still managing. I got titanium knee now. I thought it would happen with my Coors Light arm, but it hit my knee before it hit my arm. But it's very important for me personally, with the love of this city and the love of this. I was here when it was built, set right out there on concrete slabs when they were building it. Yep. And I think this is a year that we can bring everything back. We got the nucleus of a very good ball club. We have in my mind, a guy that loves baseball now, not just as a manager, but as a part owner.
Now, that's kind of interesting. Now, if he starts doing bad, does the bipolar side say, listen, Chris, I got to let you go?
Well, if he starts doing something bad, that's when I start whispering to my friends, I'm here, I'm available. No. Chris and I are like that, believe me. Yeah. I've always said, and I really mean it, I could not coach for anybody. I turned down 5 big league coaching jobs. I never wanted to coach. I'll coach for him anywhere, and especially in what I consider a town I love.
Anything in closing that you're looking forward to tonight's Hot Stove Banquet?
Well, I'm looking forward to the stories. All I got is minor league stories. I'm always looking forward to listening about major league stories. But I'm going to look right in that camera and tell them, I'm looking forward to seeing you at this ballpark. Things are turning around, and we can't do it without you. And if I can last long enough, I'm going to be here when it happens this year. And if you're not here, it ain't going to happen. So I'll see you this season at my Chris's gorgeous little ballpark.
There you have it, from your very own Mr. Baseball here in Brockton, Ed Noddle. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some.
Welcome back to the Hot Stove, and we're back with not only another Boston Red Sox great, but also someone that you probably have seen in the Can-Am League more than a bunch of times when they come to Campanelli Stadium. He is also the manager of the Worcester Tornadoes, a guy from right around here, Worcester, if I can say that. We have Mr. Rich Gedman joining us. Hello, sir.
How you doing, Kev?
Pretty good. Talk to us about being in the backyard of the Brockton Rocks, being a part of one of our functions.
Well, I think it's very nice what they're doing here. Let's face it, spring training started, and the hitters are out there hitting, and we got bad weather, and we're used to this, but it's just a sign that baseball is just around the corner. And I feel a little uncomfortable because usually I'm coming in here to play against them, but I feel like we're part of something. Worcester is part of the league, and Brockton's done a nice job since the inception of the Can-Am League, and just to be around to be able to support it. They have wonderful people here. They have a good organization, and certainly looking forward to a wonderful night.
Reminisce with us about your days with the Boston Red Sox. Being a guy, the backstop, for many a pitcher between 1980 and 1990. Talk to us about your days as a Red Sox, and do you still hear from several of your old teammates from time to time?
Well, to reminisce about it, I mean, I look at it like, I grew up in Worcester, 40 miles from Boston. I got a chance to play for the hometown team, to play there for 10 years. I got a chance to play with Kyle Yastrzemski. I got a chance to catch Dennis Eckersley, Roger Clemens, Bruce Hurst. I know I'm name dropping here, but it's really kind of neat that, when I look back at it, it really was special. When you're a kid, you don't realize you're doing that. Yeah. Even to come here tonight and see Butch Hobson and Cecil Fielder and Pete and Cavilla, it's really kind of neat. There's a different type of fraternity, of Major League Baseball players, and it's funny the things that guys remember, and it's a special group, and to reminisce about what it was like to play in Boston. It was a childhood dream. I think there's a lot of kids out there that you sit there and say it can happen, and just don't give up on that hope. And I get a chance to do a lot of neat things. I played in a couple of All-Star games. I got a chance to play in a World Series, and it was very, very special. And I think I appreciate it a whole lot more than when I was doing it.
You also got to catch a great guy like a Roger Clemens, who, despite some of the things that, that have been in the press, this is a guy who was a great pitcher, a guy who was a workhorse here when he was in Boston and loved what he did.
He was, the thing that made him so special is every time he went on the mound, we had a chance to win. And there's nothing better than when you come to the ballpark, you look forward to getting there, knowing that, hey, we got a chance to win tonight, and something special might happen. Very early in his career, he had the 20 strikeout game, and after that, it seemed like people just flocked to watch him pitch. And we had a very, very good team that year in '86, and it was like the start of his career, but it propelled a lot of us to greater heights, if you will, in terms of what our team was like. And he was a fixture there for a long time, and certainly had a wonderful career.
Seeing so many Red Sox teams, through the years trying to get the championship, your team as well in '86, finally seeing a team 2004, 2007. What was it like being, a part of the Red Sox alum to see finally the nation secure a championship?
Well, I think I saw it a little different than some of the players before me, partly, again, because I grew up here. And not only that, the Red Sox are so gracious in allowing alumni to come back. And so I got a chance to go in the Duck Boat Parade. I was so happy for those guys and happy for the city of Boston that, that they finally had won a world championship. And so I'm going on the duck boat ride or Duck Boat Parade, and it was just absolutely incredible. Growing up in New England, sometimes, we get into the winters and stuff, and you get a little grouchy, you're sitting there wondering how come everybody has a scowl on their face. And this day was something I'll never forget. People hanging off of rooftops, excuse me, light towers, lights, wherever they could get a chance to see the team and be part of that special day. And the thing I probably remember most is there was just so many smiles on their faces. They were so proud and so relieved, and it was really a great time in Boston, 2004, when the Red Sox won their World Series.
Talk to us about passing on some of your knowledge, being a baseball player, working with a lot of these guys in independent baseball, the Can-Am League, being a part of it, winning a championship your first year.
Well, as far as passing on knowledge, it's just, I get a chance to play someplace where they want to go, or they want to have a chance to be. And, some of it is not necessarily the physical things, it's more the mental stuff and how you handle the game. But more than anything, it's like they're trying to live a dream. They still have hopes that, they're going to play in the major leagues. And, as long as they put a uniform on, they have an opportunity to have somebody see them and give them a chance to, get into affiliated baseball. And if they don't have places like the Can-Am League, a lot of players' careers are over. And they'll always wonder in the back of their minds whether, geez, could I have done it? And I think this opportunity for them, at least they get to see. They get to play a couple years, some of them 2 or 3 years, some of them maybe 2 or 3 weeks. but it's that chance to keep on reliving, or living that dream, if you will, of the possibility of being a major leaguer. And I hope and pray that these leagues just hold up and people support them, because it's such a great thing. It's very good baseball, and baseball is such a wonderful game, and it's certainly affordable. It's fun, and it's a great atmosphere to be in.
Probably my last question. I know last year your team went to the championship against Quebec.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
This is not like public broadcasting. You splice that one out.
No, yeah, we can definitely cut that. It'll be part of the blooper reel. It'll be okay. Talk to it. No, it's okay. Listen, this is baseball. This is the way it is, and I'm glad it's on my watch. And I guess what I want to ask you is talk to me about playing against a Chris Carminucci, being a friend with him, being a part of this 94 games. What is it like?
Well, it's funny is it takes a little while to realize what it is. It's when you first come out or you first get into the league, it's all about how your team is doing and what your team has and where you're trying to get to. And then you find out that we're really all in this together. Mm-hmm. And when you take that approach, it seems like it becomes more of a gentleman's game, at least from the outside. And maybe not necessarily, it doesn't appear that way on the field sometimes, but, if it wasn't for people like Chris Carminucci and Van Slay and Barry Moss and all the people that put these teams together, I wouldn't have a job in baseball. And so I'm very thankful for that. And so it makes it easy to come here knowing that we're all in this to help kids get better, help them again fulfill their dreams. And when you look at it that way, you're kind of happy for their success as opposed to your failure. And it makes you be able to deal with the game a little easier. I think of Ed Noddle here. He's been around baseball forever, and his passion for the game and the things that you learn from the guys who've been around the game, especially when you think you've been around and you've done a lot of things, and you're still learning about the game, and you're learning about people, and you're learning about teamwork, and outside on the field, it's, a lot of it's happening off the field, which is really kind of neat. They're the ones behind the scenes that make it all happen.
Last question. What do you think of being part of a panel that a lot of you guys have the same thing in common, independent baseball, and being a part of, this is another part of Americana where if, a family can't go into Boston and see a game, it's kind of in their backyards.
It really is kind of neat. It certainly makes it local. Certainly, this is a great city in terms of the way they draw in their games. People really support it well, and it's one of the places that I look forward to coming. One, it's a little closer than most for us, especially being in Worcester. But it's. I think we have a Commonwealth Cup. I don't think we've won it once yet, and so there's a rivalry created. But it's really, it's kind of neat, that you, like I said, I have the utmost respect for this place because they've done such a great job, and it's like they're like at the top and we're trying to get there. We're still in our infancy stage and we're working out some kinks, but this place is going to be here for a long time, and it's fun to be around it.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Gedman.
Okay, appreciate it, Kev. Thank you.
Welcome back. We are here with the MC of this evening's event,
Use that term loosely.
I will use it very loosely. But you got some big shoes to fill. Mikey Adams was here last year and showed the tattoo and everything. And, people were appalled at first.
But I will never fill Mikey Adams' shoes. Nobody can do that. And I am not a big hitter tonight. You got Rich Gedman, Butch Hobson, Pete Incaviglia, and Cecil Fielder in the room. Never mind Ed Noddle, who's hanging around. So I'm humbled.
Really?
Just to be here.
What are you looking forward to? I mean, these guys being an anchor on TV and you're doing the radio gig. Talk to us about some of these guys that you've interacted with hundreds of times.
Well, I don't have to tell people of New England about the Brockton Rocks and about independent baseball. I mean, this is 9th year of the Rocks now, and they just get it. I mean, no matter what you spend, it's worth twice the amount of money when you come here. And I'm a baseball guy. I covered independent baseball in the first year of the Northern League for a team in Minnesota called the Rochester Aces, and they played in the early 90s the St. Paul Saints in the championship. And I've always loved minor league baseball from that. And going there in the early 90s, growing up here, we didn't have that. We didn't have the Nashua Pride, the Worcester Tornadoes, all of them. And now we got a lot of it. But the Rocks really do it better than most. So when they asked me, I was like, absolutely. I love doing this.
And is it because of, you look at the economic times, I mean, going into Boston, it's a great time at the Fens. But, I mean, it's a little bit more inexpensive for the family. If you want to go and bring, the kids and have a good time, and half the things they do during the innings, I mean, keeps the kids at least focused.
Well, as New Englanders, I think we do live and die Red Sox baseball, most of us. But I think we're also baseball fans. I think that's part of the success of minor league baseball around here. And, again, the Rocks just get it right. You bring your kids here, they love it. I come here, I love it. It's just great baseball.
Wait. You mean we could catch Butchie Stearns at a Brockton Rocks game?
I kind of hide in the background.
Sneak in.
Well, I try to go around and see where Van is and see what I can do. See where the owner is and see if I can hound him. Kidding.
Definitely very good. Any stories? I mean, what are you going? What is the idea for the evening?
You know what? This night's not about me. I mean, like I said, you got some of the biggest personalities in the game of baseball. You do have Butch Hobson. Now, you got to love a guy with a name like Butch. So I'll play up on that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Work it. Now, I'll be honest. I'm a big fan as far as listening to you on the radio, and actually you do something. If you could share with those who didn't have a chance to hear you, you had made a mention about back in your day working at a TV station, and a guy came up and heard your name, and he had made some comment. Could you share that?
Where you going? I don't remember what you said.
You had mentioned something about you were doing something behind television.
Yeah.
And the guy asked you to come back, and he goes, Butch. Name like Butch, you get a lot of key grip jobs. I told it wrong, but that's
I know
why.
The story you're telling now. A friend of mine used to produce commercials, and when I was trying to get my start, he asked me to do a commercial with him. He gave me a job as a grip, and I picking things up and walking. And the guy who ran all the grips, the key grip, came up to me and said, "So your name's Butch, huh?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You can get a lot of grip work with a name like Butch." I was like, "Beautiful." I didn't really want to be a grip, but I took it as a compliment.
Let me ask you something about sports radio.
Yeah.
What's it been like with the addition of a second radio station and just the explosion of sports radio in Boston?
Not only sports radio, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, I grew up in an era where I read the Globe every single day, and I had to have it, and I watched 4, 5, and 7. Those days are gone. I mean, they're still around. I still read the Globe, and I still watch 4, 5, and 7. But now the eyeballs are going all kinds of different places. The earlobes are going places. You can get it on the radio. You can get it at your desk if you're at work. And that's the interesting thing to me. I mean, I was at Fox for 10 years. They let me go. They didn't want to have to do it. The economy kind of perpetuated it. But when I look at it, the reality is that they didn't really fire me. My job's going away. And I just started a new job. I can't tell you too much about it. I'd have to kill you, so I won't tell you.
Yeah, I heard that rumor.
But it's with a bunch of guys, and we're starting an internet online network. I'll give you a little scoop here. You'll hear more about it coming up soon.
Okay.
I'm the king of the tease, so I got to say it that way. But
so should I throw the big O at you so we're going to hear this for the next couple of weeks?
No, I'll tell them when I'm on the big show next. I'll tell them to watch Whitman Hanson Cable, and that's where they'll get their information. See,
you
never know when you're going to get the scoop.
You gotta love guys with the name Butch. That's
right.
so awesome.
That's right.
And if there's anything else you can say before I let you go, what would you say to some of the fans who will be watching this?
Come see a Rocks game. If you haven't been to a Rocks game, what are you waiting for? I mean, seriously. You don't have to be a baseball fan. You can come here and get a haircut, a massage. What else can they do in the stands?
There's a list. I don't know where the list is.
Is there a pool in the stands?
I think there is something that they use, like a jacuzzi or something.
See a Rocks game. That's what you got to do.
We are here with one of the baddest dudes with a bat. Back in the day, Big Daddy, Mr. Cecil Fielder. Welcome to Brockton, Massachusetts, and Brockton Rock Stadium. I know you've been here before with the Can-Am League. Talk to us about tonight being part of this independent baseball panel and talking baseball.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm here is definitely because of my friend Chris Carminucci. I mean, that's really the reason why I'm here. But, talking baseball is what's really going down right now. I mean, with all the stories that we have going on in baseball, Mark McGwire was just added to that, that list. it's a shame. I mean, the things that are going on in the game. I said a long time ago, I think what we should do as a whole, as Major League Baseball, is just apologize and just try to move forward, because we keep doing this one after another, this guy, that guy. This is just going to drag out forever. And I think at some point, Major League Baseball has to get past this and move forward, because, it's definitely a black eye for the game of baseball. But at the end of the day, if we can get past that black eye, baseball can come back to be America's pastime. So at some point, we need to go ahead and move forward.
Talk to us about your days, reminisce for a moment, being in the major leagues and being, again, one of the most feared bats when you came up to the plate. Myself being a Boston Red Sox fan,
Right.
you're the last guy I wanted to see at the plate because you knew how to put it over the fence.
Well, I used to love coming to the Fenway Park. I mean, that was just an incredible time for me. I loved playing here. Yep. Some of the guys that I'd faced, back in the 80s, when I was young, was nervous. And then come back, with Detroit when I came back from Japan in '89 and played with Detroit in '90, and just had a great season. But, the thing about the game at that point, it was just real fresh to me. I mean, you get an opportunity to come back and play after being in Japan. I was a young man, 24, 25 years old, but get an opportunity to come back to the States and really put on the Ritz, hit 50 home runs, be the 11th player in Major League history to do it. Mm-hmm. It was just an exciting time for me, and I think it was an exciting time for baseball. I mean, it hadn't been done since George Foster did it in '77. It hadn't been done in the American League for 29 years, so it was an exciting time. But that excitement kind of deteriorated for me. I mean, I just don't – it doesn't feel the same. I mean, the game, at that point, being an 11th player in Major League history, heck, that was 100 years of baseball. There's been more guys that do it since then. Mm. And I just think it really doesn't mean the same like it did, when I was added to the list with Roger Maris and George Foster, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, and those folks. And it's just one of those things now where, it's I'm a part of a crew, but that crew is tainted.
Mm. Yeah, talk to me. I mean, guys like a Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, who, they broke the record. But, I mean, what does Major League Baseball do in the meantime?
There's nothing you really can do. I mean, it's a sign of the times. I mean, I just did an interview back in the back, and, the thing about doing that interview is that, I got to believe that the people in baseball knew what was going on. But, again, baseball needed a boost because mm-hmm. we had just lost the '94 World Series for the first time ever. And I think the best thing for us to do was, to have a situation where Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were going neck and neck at it and doing the things that they were doing, because all that did was bring the fans back to baseball. Mm. And, we sacrificed the purity of the game to get baseball back into the good grace of the fans. And I think, everybody involved needs to apologize, the commissioner's office on down, the Players Association, everybody, because it's a real tragedy that the game of baseball is having to go through what we're having to go through right now, because, the years that I played, the game was baseball, and now, it's Congress and everything else involved. So hopefully, the game of baseball can get back to where it was.
Talk to us about passing the game of baseball on to others. I know you're down in Atlanta and mm-hmm. you're working with some kids, trying to teach them the fine art of the game. Talk to us about it.
Well, and again, that's a lot of the topics. I mean, the only thing I have to give back to these kids at this point is knowledge. I mean, I was very fortunate to get an opportunity to play with some of the greatest players in the game of baseball, going back to, my Blue Jay days when I played with Jesse Barfield, mm-hmm. Lloyd Mosby, George Bell, mm-hmm. Dave Steve, Jim Clancy, Ernie Witt. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got to play with a rich heritage of baseball. Now, going to Detroit, playing with, Sweet Lou, Alan Trammell, Kirk Gibson, Lance Parrish. I mean, all those guys I played with, Chet Lemon. I got an opportunity to be around people that have been successful in the game of baseball, and it kind of gave me an opportunity to kind of, be swept under the rug and just let me go out there and play, because I had so many superstars that I was playing with, Jack mm-hmm. Morris. So, that 1990 season, I was really, swept under the rug. Nobody was really paying a lot of attention to me until I hit about 40. And I'll take that back. Jose and I, right there at the All-Star break, was at 21 apiece. And both of us had hit our second home runs of that game. Then I hit my third and went to 22, and I left him in the dust at that point. But I think that's when people started paying attention that I was for real. And, Pat Gillick, was taking a beating. How could you let this young man go? And Pat was talking a little trash. But, at the end of the day, hey, man, I'm just fortunate that I got an opportunity to really show what I could do, and that's basically it.
Was there one pitcher in Major League Baseball, maybe even on the Boston Red Sox, that
Roger Clemens.
Really?
He killed me. I think I was 5 for 61 off Roger Clemens in my career. I mean, Sparky Anderson used to tell me, he said, hey, I can give you a day off today. And I used to say, no, man, I'm going out here. I'm going to take this dude deep. So I used to just, I always try to, psych myself out that one day I'd get a hit off of Roger Clemens, which I got a few hits, but they were really weak hits. I didn't hit Roger Clemens out of the ballpark, but I hit quite a few others out.
Talk to us about being here tonight, panel of guys who, from Major League Baseball's, coaching and independent ball. Talk to us about being here tonight. What you're going to look forward to with the fans.
It's just good that, Pete Incaviglia, who's one of my ex-teammates, is here. Getty, I managed against Getty. And Hobson, I've watched him when I was a kid sitting there platooning in Toronto watching him play. So, you got a good panel of guys that have been around the game. I guarantee you there's going to be some good stories and have some fun with it. But, there's going to be some times where some serious questions are going to be asked. And I think you got a crew of guys from the old, and I'm going to say Pete and Incaviglia and I are the new, that are going to have different versions of those questions. But, again, we're going to give the fans and the people in that room the truth, because I think that's the most important thing we can do right now is just tell the truth and be able to again, try to get baseball past, this period of time that we're in. I mean, we got to be able to not sweep this under the rug, but be able to apologize for our wrongdoings and just move forward. I mean, that's normal. And the thing about baseball fans and the thing about baseball people, and I think a lot of guys who have come up, even going back to Jason Giambi, he was one of the first guys to apologize. People are going to forgive you. They're going to forgive you. But if you don't want to talk about the past and you don't want to do this and you're going to point your finger at Congress and then, 2-3 months later, you're found guilty, I mean, it's way too much for me to even fathom. I just think it's a bitter point of time in baseball. And, again, somehow, some way we got to get over it.
Any chance of seeing you coach again in the Can-Am League?
Nah, there's a possibility. I'm having a great time at home, working with these young kids, trying to get them motivated. Dexter Fowler, who played, in the big leagues with Colorado, he's one of my kids, and I'm excited for him to have another good year. I got so many young kids, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids down there that I work with. But again, I think more than just giving them batting instruction, I can give them a lot of knowledge of the game of baseball. And I think as ex-players and as former big league players, we have the obligation, to give back to these young kids, and I'm just having a blast.
Thank you, Cecil.
All right, appreciate it.
Cecil Fielder. Welcome back. We have, I think this is probably going to be our final guest, and the best guest. He is not only the skipper of your Brockton Rocks, but I think he's kind of like part of the ownership now. I think part of this is part of his. What a great event that you have. You here at the camp, as Bill Carpenter likes to call it. You have put together. You get Cecil Fielder, Pete Incaviglia, Butch Hobson, Rich Gedman, Butchie Stearns to glue it all together, and yourself, and I see you get a couple of players that are going to be part of tonight's ensemble. What's going on?
Obviously this is friends helping friends. This is friends coming together. We had a tough year last year with the rain and everything else, and I called, Pete and Cecil and all the other guys, and I said, hey, can you come out and help us this year? And it took 4 hours to put this together. And, the tremendous part of that is that we were able to bring everybody out, get them together, put this together, and now we're, here celebrating Rocks baseball, which, to me is the greatest thing that ever hit this area. And I fell in love with this team ever since I've been here, as you know.
You caught what you got what Noddle has.
I do. I caught the bug. I'm, hopefully a little better looking than Mr. Noddle, but we'll see. But at the same time, I think that, Eddie exemplifies what this is all about.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, you got to be kind of happy as to, if we look back a couple of months ago, there was some question marks. What was going to go on with the Rocks? What was it going to go on with the league? That happens at the end. You got to assess. There were a few slow months. Now you're kind of beyond that, and we're kind of looking. We get the hot stove, couple of months you could be playing baseball. You got to be feeling good.
I am feeling great. And, a couple of months ago we were in tough shape, and I think now we're in a much better place. And, everybody is enjoying what they're doing. We love this brand of Rocks baseball. It's what we all believe in. It's what we all know. And, I always joke around and say that, I've never had a real job in my life, and, because I've loved what I've done every second of every day. And, to be part of this is tremendous. Everybody's so excited. Everybody's into this. And, again, it's friends coming together. It's communities coming together. It's people coming together to celebrate baseball at its finest. And I think this is just a great showing of what people can do if they put their minds together.
The panel is kind of special to the degree, other than being friends of yours. What else do they kind of have in common?
All played in the big leagues and all now have some affiliation to independent baseball. And it just shows you how far independent baseball has come. I mean, Rich Gedman, who's just walking through the door, was, 86 World Series. And, now he's managing over in Worcester. And, Cecil managed for me in Atlantic City. And, Pete Cavilla I hired to manage the team down in Grand Prairie. So, I mean, all these people, Butch Hobson has kicked my butt a number of times in the field. So, I know that, that all these guys have the same desires to see independent baseball keep going from a big league level all the way down.
If I was to ask you some of the things that we could look forward to with the 2010 version of the Brockton Rocks, just to give a little sneak peek, what are the Rocks fans going to see a little bit different? Because you broke a record as far as the number of wins. Is that a plateau you're looking to break and go beyond?
Well, we're going to try to break the record again, okay? But on top of that, we had a little talk with Mother Nature and God, and the weather's going to be much better this year. God has promised me, she has promised me, as my wife told me to say, that we're going to have great weather this year, and we're going to put together a great product here. And, look, we have all the cogs to be able to do well, and I think it's just a matter of getting the good weather, getting our team rolling again, and getting out of the first round of the playoffs. I'm looking to win this whole thing. I want to put a big ring on my finger. I want to buy all these kids rings, and that's what it's all about, and I believe we can do it.
What's the special components that you've added so far? Have we added some speed? Talk to us.
Mike Conroy in particular added a lot of speed to our lineup. We're not going to wait around for the 3-run home run this year. We're going to see these guys run, hit and run, do everything that they're supposed to be doing on the base paths. And at the end of the day, we're going to have to create runs, and we're going to have to pitch well. And we lost a couple good pitchers. And Wayne Lundgren is going to have another great year. And all these other guys that we've picked up. So I think that at the end of the day, we're going to lose a little power, but we're going to gain a lot of speed, and it's going to be an exciting brand of baseball.
If you can look into that camera right there and say anything to Brockton Rocks fans, what would you say to them?
I would say that you have 20 people involved in this organization who all have their sleeves rolled up and are all doing everything they can to make sure that this product continues and lives, and we're going to do everything every day. A lot of times when you're at home in bed, we're still working here, and we're going to continue to do that because we love you and love the Rocks.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
For the home team, if they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Welcome to the 8th annual Brockton Rocks Hot Stove Banquet. How about a round of applause for that? My name is Butch Stearns. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be anywhere these days. How about a round of applause for that? What do you say we talk some baseball, raise some money, and have some fun tonight? Huh? Let's try that again. What do you say we talk some baseball, raise some money, and have some fun? Couple of quick things. First of all, those of you who were here last year and you had the Mike Adams experience, I will not try to be as funny. I do not have a tattoo, and you don't have to worry about your children that are in the room. Okay? But I will try to make sure we have as much fun as Mikey always does. Without further ado, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We're going to keep things moving. If you've been here before, you know how it works. If you haven't, we're going to talk some baseball. We're going to have some good food. We're going to do some silent auctions. And we're going to do a lot of patting on the back, shaking hands, and getting ready for baseball season, the 9th year of the Brockton Rocks. Without further ado, how about introducing our 4 distinguished baseball lifers for us. Number 1, born in Pebble Beach, California, playing 12 seasons in the major leagues with 6 different teams. He hit 20 or more home runs as a major league player 6 different times. This guy is so big in baseball, he has a rule named after him. Pete Inky Incaviglia. And Pete right now is the manager of the Grand Prairie Air Hogs in Texas. And by the way, all these guys are not only former Major League players and experienced as managers in the minor leagues. Second up, 14 seasons in the major leagues with Toronto, Detroit, Cleveland, Anaheim, and the New York Yankees. A three-time All-Star. He hit 319 home runs, 51 during the 1990 season. He has managed minor league baseball with the Charlotte County Redfish of the South Coast League and the Atlantic City Surf, the Can-Am League. He now runs a baseball academy in Georgia. And anything you want to call this guy, make sure the word big is always involved. Cecil, Big Daddy Fielder. He is one of our own, Worcester's own. 11 seasons as the catcher for the Boston Red Sox. When Carlton Fisk's contract was mailed late, he said, what are the Red Sox going to do for a catcher? Well, they got a guy who became the Rookie of the Year right after that. He's managing now in his 6th season of the Worcester Tornadoes. Again, he's one of us, Rich Gedman. Years as the third baseman for the Boston Red Sox, California Angels, and New York Yankees. From 1975 to 80. Born in Alabama. How can you hate a guy named Butch? I mean, really. Clell Laverne Hobson Jr. Butch, of course, has managed the National Pride, and he's currently in the 3rd season with the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. All right, I'm going to step aside right now. Before I do, where's Van Schley? Where are you, Van? How about standing up and give a nice round of applause for the owner of the Brockton Rocks? The founder of independent minor league baseball, I might add. Without further ado, let me bring in the Senior Vice President and Regional Manager of Webster Bank. And Barry Toothaker handles 81 branches himself. There are 181 branches here in the Northeast Quarter, and Webster Bank has been a longtime supporter of the Brockton Rocks. It's my pleasure to introduce Barry Toothaker.
Two great Red Sox legends, Rich Gedman and Butch Hobson, as well as, I think for the first time, that we've allowed two people who actually were on the Yankees roster for a while. Great to have Cecil Fielder and Pete Cavilla here tonight. But Webster, who is celebrating our 75th anniversary this year, also covers a market that goes from Westchester County, New York, all the way to Boston. So we have an interesting mix of Yankee customers and Red Sox customers and employees throughout our organization. It's about a 50-50 mix, and so we have a fun rivalry that takes place within the company. But at the end of the day, we're all baseball fans. We're very fortunate tonight to have about 20 representatives helping to sponsor this event from Webster. We have representatives from our branch network, from our business and professional banking group, cash management, government banking, and corporate lending and corporate banking. And if I could just ask them to stand for just a second, please. They do a great job. A very dedicated team that work to support the individuals, families, and businesses and the financial needs of the Brockton community. And as a coach and a manager, it's a lot easier when you take the field with a team of all-stars every day. So great team that we have, and I thank them for their dedication. One of the exciting things about the partnership that we have with the Rocks is that we get to have some fun with a sponsor that's a little different than normal. Today we had the honor and the benefit of having both Pete Cavilla and Cecil Fielder at both our Oak Street branch and our Belmont Street branch today. 2 hours at each branch. They were greeting both customers and meeting employees. A great and exciting event for our customers, and we thank both of you for taking the time to do that. But Webster, you know, like the Rocks and as individuals, understand we also have a responsibility to the communities in which we work, live, and this event is obviously partially a fundraiser to accomplish that. Webster is very proud that we have sponsored a variety of nonprofits within the greater Brockton market, and one special organization that is the beneficiary of tonight's event is Father Bill's and Mainspring. And they are an organization that focuses on shelter, housing, and critical family needs within the community of Greater Brockton Market. And we're very happy to sponsor them tonight as well as the beneficiary of this organization. Their primary goal is to eradicate homelessness in the state of, it's going to be in the town of Brockton, and they do a great job towards that end. In this current economic environment, as you can imagine, the needs and demands on their services are greater than ever. Again, it's extremely timely and important that that we support the organization in this time of need. And again, they're the beneficiary of the auction tonight. So we certainly encourage you to bid often and bid high on their behalf to help the Greater Brockton community. On behalf of Webster, again, I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for coming, and we wish the Rocks a very successful winning championship season, certainly in 2010, and hopefully they have a drier spring than they had last year.
Cecil, is it true when you played in Japan, your nickname was the Wild Bear? That man's had more nicknames than any player in the history of any sport. Every one involved the word big. Gotta have big. Gotta be doing something right for them to call you big. I want the rest of you to call me big for the rest of the night, okay? Means I'm doing something right. Quick reminder of how this night's gonna go. Please eat if any of you are waiting to eat. We're gonna keep eating and keep things moving along. Please take your time to look at some of the auction items. I want to echo Barry's thoughts about Father Bill's and Mainspring. Their main mantra is nobody should be homeless. I'm very familiar with the efforts they do. I know many of you are too. That's what the fundraiser is for tonight. Let's keep that in mind. These guys will be up here shortly. We're going to talk some baseball. I'm going to ask them some questions. You're going to get to ask them some questions. Be careful how you ask the questions. Trust me, they'll come at you. I know that. You might end up in the paper or on talk radio. Without further ado, two quick things. I love independent baseball. I wasn't good enough, like a lot of us, but I just love minor league baseball. In 1994, I covered the first year of the Northern League in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I covered a team called the Rochester Aces. Van Sly was telling me earlier he was part of a group that helped start the Northern League. And we played the St. Paul Saints. I was a reporter. But we played the St. Paul Saints, and the championship was one of the best years of my life. And I don't think anybody does it better than the Brockton Rocks. I really don't. If you're in this room, you know what I'm talking about. You're a fan of it. That's what this night is all about. And I think our next guest is a perfect example of what independent baseball is all about. He started as an intern. He's been here for 7 or 8 years. 3 years he's been the GM of this. Brian Vogel, everybody.
So what do you know? It's rain. Shocker. I was opening the mail this off season, and I was sent a book by our season ticket holders, or one of our season ticket holders. It says, "Hello, Brian. I decided to find you a copy of the 2010 Farmer's Almanac in order to help you find some encouraging predictions when it comes to the weather for the 2010 baseball season. The Northeast section is on pages 66 through 67. So, feeling pretty good about myself, looking back on my first 2 years as GM, with all the rain that we've been faced with, I open up the book, and there's black marks everywhere. Little notes behind them that say, don't worry about that, don't read this, you don't need to be concerned with that. What do you know? It's Rocks baseball. It started in 2002 with a rainy day, with one of our owners leading a band through the crowd, and it's continued the past few summers, but it doesn't deter us from what we're here to do, and that's play the game of baseball, but more importantly, put smiles on people's faces. And that's what this organization represents. The last time I was on a microphone in this room, it was filled much like it is tonight. It was filled with 400 plus individuals, made up of families, fathers, sons, daughters, grandparents, children. We worked with the public school system. We worked with our community leaders. We came together that night to feed families for a holiday meal. Those families were living in hotels, spending their nights wondering where they're going to sleep the next night. And that's what this organization represents. That's what this organization is about. And that's why it was started in 2002, to be a member of this community, to make an impact on this community. And I just want to let you know how grateful we are to be allowed to continue year in, year out to be a member of your community. This is why we come to work every day. This is the opportunity that we have to put on a uniform for our guys, to work in minor league baseball, to have the opportunity that I've had to not go to work every day. I go to a baseball stadium. It's not a bad place to go, but more importantly, I have the job to make an impact on a daily basis. My job is to put smiles on individuals' faces, and that's the opportunity that you guys have given us. It's not possible without the 1.2 million plus fans that have come through the gates over the last 8 years. It's not possible without partners like Webster Bank. It's not possible without events like this evening, without owners and management companies that believe in us and our efforts and what we're trying to accomplish. It's understanding that we go out there and we play a game, and our guys go out there to win. They fight hard for that. But they get the chance and opportunity to put on a baseball uniform. And it's not about how many wins and losses we have at the end of the season. It's not about a bottom line. It's about how many smiles we put on individuals' faces. It's about how many chances and opportunities we've had to make an impact on a daily basis. And that's something that we're forever grateful for. And it's certainly, it's far-reaching beyond this organization. It doesn't start with us. It doesn't end with us. But we're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be a part of it. And that's made possible through everyone in this room, and we're forever grateful for that. We don't forget about that. We remind ourselves about that. And as we prepare for an upcoming season, one which, under the leadership of Van Schley, Director of Player Personnel Barry Moss, Ed Noddle, Manager Chris Miyake, our job is to hoist the trophy that Ed Noddle has hoisted for us, the only trophy that we've hoisted, the 2003 League Championship. But as we bring guys in, guys that are here, as we rebuild our roster around a foundation with Buster Lucier, Keith Brackhold, bringing in guys from the local area, signing a veteran, Mike Conroy from Situate, Dan Corey from Fall River. These are the guys that we have the opportunity to talk to speak with, and show them that around this room on a given night, these are the people that they play for. And this is the opportunity that they have a job to do and go out there on a daily basis. And really, these are the people that have made them forever grateful to play this game of baseball year in and year out, and to receive opportunities to continue to move forward. So, again, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Certainly it's a wonderful chance for us to regather. This is our opportunity to kind of kick off our year. It's our annual event that we look forward to on a daily basis and a yearly basis, to finally come together on a winter night and talk baseball. Forget about the rain. We'll think about the cold, but we'll think about the spring, the time, and the weather that's here. I want to mention and welcome, certainly, and thank some of our owners and management personnel that's in attendance this evening. Mr. Gary McKinnon, Chuck Hodger, Mr. Alan Serrata, Mr. Matt Kaufman, certainly of the Carmenucci Management Group, Mr. Van Schley, his daughter Hannah Schley, and certainly all of us that are in attendance. We're grateful that you give us the opportunity to succeed on a daily basis. And for the rest of you, thanks so much for joining us for the past 8 seasons of baseball. There is a 9th season of baseball. It starts on May 28th, 2010, and we're going to be here. There's not going to be rain. It's going to be a Friday night with a fireworks show and 5,000 screaming fans with smiles on their faces, because that's what we do. We put smiles on people's faces.
Thank you. I'm going to start asking these guys some questions. They're going to answer them, hopefully. And then you guys will get a chance to ask some questions. Do we have the wireless mics for the... Oh, we'll figure that out in a second. All right. Let's start with an easy one. How about another round of applause for Rich Gedman, Butch Hobson, Pete D'Amelia, and of course the biggest round of applause for the biggest man, Cecil Field.
I'm shrunk over there.
You shrunk?
Yeah, I'm not as big as I used to be.
But you just said that everything you do is big.
No, what I said is,
You gotta talk closer to the mic.
You gotta be doing something to be called big.
Okay.
You know, you gotta drop some heads, drop some bombs, drive in some RBIs, all that.
Yeah.
Then you get a name like Big.
Well, here's what I do know, okay? Now, we all know that your son, Prince, he's hitting home runs in Milwaukee, right?
Right.
And I know, I'm sure that, you know, people come up every once in a while, the younger generation says, hey, that's Prince's dad. And I'm sure you're like, hey, wait a minute. I hit 319 home runs in the major leagues. I had 51 in a season. But here's something I do know. Your son will never do in the city of Milwaukee that you did. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I went out the stadium, yeah.
You hit one right out of the stadium in Milwaukee County Stadium. Well, that stadium isn't even there anymore, right?
Inky seen it. I saw it. It's the truth.
Really?
Yep. When I went in the parking lot over the bullpen and left. Yeah.
Right out of the stadium?
Right out of the stadium. Saw it bounce in the parking lot. Also saw him hit one out of Tiger Stadium. Out.
You know, I gotta tell you honestly, being in the media, I love when you guys talk baseball. I just don't think we hear enough of it at times. And I don't, you know, if you want to embarrass each other, fine. But I want to ask each of you to tell some stories about each other. In other words, Pete, what did you think of Cecil as a player when he played?
You know, the biggest thing I remember about Cess is not the home runs he hit, not all the runs he drove in. It was the person he was in the clubhouse. He was one of the best teammates I ever played with. He cared about his teammates. He cared more about us than he did himself. That's what he gave his shirt off his back for us. And he was, in 1991, he was the Detroit Tigers. I mean, Cess hit 51 bombs. I mean, we were more like a offensive line. We probably could have blocked for Barry Sanders and got him 3,000 yards that year with Mickey Telton and Mark Salas and Bill Gullickson. Rob Deere. But Cess just easy going, man. He's just Big Daddy. I mean, he goes out there and plays for us. And that's the way you're supposed to play the game. You don't go out there and play for yourself. You go out and play for your team, your teammates, for the English D on your chest, which was the Tigers. And you know, Cess was led by example, and we all followed him. You know, he was the epitome of the best teammate I ever played with.
Now, Cecil, you started with Toronto.
Yes.
You went 1 year to Japan.
Yes.
Played for the Hanshin Tigers.
Yes.
I went over to Tokyo. That's a crazy place.
I love it.
That's a crazy place.
Oh, I love it.
I'll give you my one Tokyo story. I didn't realize till I went over there, the language barrier. Like, you know, you go to Spain, you go to Mexico, the letters are at least our letters.
Right.
So the first night I went out looking for something to eat, I came to appreciate pictures on the menu. I finally found a place to eat. It was a noodle place, and I realized we had gone to a Chinese restaurant in Japan.
Hey,
So we went out for Chinese food the first time I was in Tokyo.
It's all good.
What was it like playing in Japan?
Oh, man, I tell you, I mean, you know, I remember a lot of different things about my time in Japan because I was a young man, 24 years old, getting an opportunity to get away from the, you know, the great talent that we had in Toronto. I mean, you look back when I first got called up to the big leagues in '85, we had Willie Upshaw, and then myself, Fred McGriff was on the way, and John Olerud was following him. So that's 4 pretty good first basemen. There's only 1 ball to play. So I was fortunate enough to get out of there, but you know, when I got to Japan, I mean, they opened their arms to me. I mean, you know, it was very unfortunate. I had 300 at-bats in Japan. I hit 38 home runs and 300 at-bats, and I broke my hand. And you know, had an opportunity to come home. I got my hand checked. They told me it was broke. So in my contract, my agent Speaker of Sports back in the Bob Hooley and Jim Browner, had a clause in my contract that I could get out of my contract in Japan, given written notice. And I mean, I don't know how they did that, but I mean, it was probably the greatest move of all time because it gave me an opportunity to become an 11th player in Major League history to hit 50 home runs. So I always tell my agents, you know, who I had my whole career without a contract on a handshake, that was probably the greatest move of my career. And you know, you talk about teammates, and you know, I take it back a little further with Inky and I mean, you know, Inky, Tony Phillips, Rob Deere, Telton, Tony Phillips, I mean, they treated my son like a piece of meat. I mean, they used to throw him in trash cans, tie him up. But you know what? That kid would have never, that was priceless to him. I mean, to be tied up with tape in the clubhouse and left in the clubhouse by himself. I mean, those are things that kid will never ever forget. I mean, his opportunities and his road trips with his dad really was taken with my teammates, because my teammates, you know, loved that kid like he was their own kid. And I think if you talk to that kid today about his time on the road with the Tigers when he was young, he would talk about when Inky and Mickey and Rob Deere and all those guys used to just mess with him and wrestle him and throw him in trash cans and things like that, because, you know, that's priceless for a little 7-, 8-year-old kid to be walking around Major League clubhouses and go out and take BP with Inky or take BP with Tony Phillips. Because I really didn't like being around him because he wouldn't listen to me anyway. So, I mean, you know, my teammates were excellent with my boy, and now, you know, my boy is probably one of the premier home run hitters in the game of baseball. And I give a lot of credit to my teammates.
Talking about teammates, Butch and Rich, you guys are teammates with the Red Sox for a number of years. What do you remember about first coming to the Red Sox, first meeting Rich?
Well, actually, I'm a lot older than Rich. So we weren't really teammates. I mean,
You played together?
No.
Not 1 year?
Maybe a month. Yeah, you can't say that's a year, but you know, Rich was came up was right after Allenson, right? 1980, and then that was my last year that I was with the Red Sox. Now I think I want to go back to Cecil here, and we talked about some of the home runs he had. I was managing. He was playing with Detroit, and if you know Detroit Stadium, the old Tiger Stadium, you know, everybody talks about the balls that he hit on the roof or over the roof, but it's 445 feet to center field. When a guy hits a ball in the gap and ballparks like that, that's a long way. And I remember he had a ball in right center in the upper deck, in right center in Tiger Stadium, and that's a long home run, man. And just remember that. Inky played for me. I mean, I guess I'm talking about my age right now, but at the end of his career, when I first started in Nashville, an independent ball, I had a chance. The Inky was available, and I called him and said, "Man, I'd love you to come over and, you know, be my DH, play some outfield, whatever." And he said, "Man, I'd be glad to do it." He came over and hit a double his first at bat in Nashville and pulled his lower abdomen muscle, and never had a chance to play again after that until I managed against him when he was in Atlantic City. Richie and I never really, we were together in spring training, but never really had a chance to be, I guess, for a full-time teammate. But, you know, I mean, Rich Gedman is Rich Gedman. He was the catcher, he was the leader of the team, he was the captain of the team, and he was always that. And the Red Sox fans know that about him. And, you know, our paths crossed more as managing against each other in the Can-Am League and managing against each other in these wonderful fantasy camps that we do. You know, we're all, you know, as major league players, we know we love each other, and we know that if there's ever a problem that one of us has, all we have to pick up the phone and call.
Now, Butch, you're from Alabama.
Yes, sir.
You were born in Pebble Beach, but spent your career in Texas.
Monterey, not Pebble.
Monterey?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was from the hood.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Mean streets of Monterey?
Yeah, right.
Cecil, you're an LA guy, right?
South Central. I was from the hood. He wasn't from the hood.
And Richie, of course, you're Worcester zone. I'm always curious about this because what was it like playing for your home team? I know it was great, but there are disadvantages to playing at home too, aren't there?
When I first came to Boston,
Pull that a little closer to you, Richie.
I'm used to talking low, so if you could move a little closer, we could get a little more intimate. Playing close to home has a lot of benefits, especially if you're playing okay. If you're playing pretty good, it's a nice place to play because people are very forgiving when you mess up. But I'll tell you what, towards the end of my career, when I ended up getting traded in 1990, I never thought that I would be happy to be leaving Boston. It was kind of rough. But the first 7-8 years there were just absolutely incredible. There was hardly any distractions. Had some great players to play with, great teams to play on. And, certainly the fan support was outstanding. And it just goes to show you, though, you're living a New England boy's dream. And I'll tell you, when you fall flat on your face, they forget that you grew up there. I have one thing to say about Butch. When I came up in 1980, I was 20 years old. I was with basically what I saw as the 1978 Red Sox. And I can remember, the thing that I think most about Butch is that he was a gamer. He was somebody that would play through injury. He'd do whatever he could to help the team, and certainly one of the character guys. Not always getting the credit that he fully deserved, but if I remember right, I think he hit 9th in the lineup, and most lineups he could hit 3rd or 4th, and he had 30 home runs and 100 RBIs, and went out there. I think it's fair to say that your arm was broke, and you sit there and you battled your freaking butt off every single day. And I respect that to this day about anybody who's willing to take it out there for the team. So, as a kid growing up and get a chance to watch it and then get a chance to sit next to you, he loved to play the game, and he certainly was a great teammate. Took care of me just in a month period of time, made an influence on me. So, that's what I have.
One nice round of applause for that. Pete, I want to ask you about the Pete Incaviglia rule. I mean, Cy Young has his own award, but you have your own rule. 1985, right? You're drafted by the Montreal Expos, and you never played for Montreal. You get traded to the Texas Rangers. You never spent a day in the minor leagues. You start the year with the Texas Rangers, and since that time, they changed the rule that draft picks can't be traded without playing in the minor leagues. You can't trade a draft pick right away. Thus, the Pete Incaviglia rule. You're pretty special.
Well, if you got to be big, you got to do
That's
something
right.
big. Tell him, Pete, you got a rule in there, you got to do something right, don't you? Anyways, what happened was I got drafted out of college. I went to Oklahoma State, got drafted out of college.
Well, you won't say it, but I will. I believe you still hold the NCAA record for most home runs in a season with 43.
I believe
most in a career with 100.
I believe
Took
so.
Oklahoma State to the College World Series 3 years in a row. While Barry Sanders was getting the culture, he might be the best player at that. That's all. I just wanted to mention.
More interesting story. I'll tell you a story about Barry Switzer. We had Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders, both running backs at Oklahoma State. Thurman was ahead of Barry, and Barry Switzer was on the news, and he said, don't hurt that guy returning kickoffs because we don't want him going in and running back because he was about 10 times better than Thurman was. So it was pretty interesting to watch both of those guys play. You still want me to talk about the...
I'm sorry, I was just
you
gathering my
confused
thoughts.
me.
That was a commercial break.
Yeah, okay. But the rule is in place for this very reason because I decided not to go to Montreal. It wasn't because I had anything against Canada. I really didn't want to go to Montreal. I wanted to stay in the States and close to my family. And they didn't really believe me I was going to do it. I was just going to go they had a January draft then. And I told them I was going to go in a January draft. Well, about December 24th, they called and they traded me to Texas. And therefore, after they traded me to Texas, they made a rule saying that you have to play 1 day of professional baseball before being traded. So there you have it. That's the Pete Incaviglia rule.
There you go. We're going to put some microphones in the crowd in a few minutes, so think about the questions you would like to ask. I'd like each of you to answer this question if you would. You're working with kids now in Georgia doing clinics, but you've all worked and managed in minor league, independent baseball now. What I'm curious about is to sum up your stories, meaning that what's it like with guys with major league history, with guys with the resumes that you have, when you're dealing with these players who are still most of them playing because they believe they got a shot. and they're trying to get there. I mean, you guys have been there for a decade now almost. It must be a real joy. Let me start with you, Rich. I mean, why do you manage? What do you like about managing? What's the biggest challenge in independent baseball?
Maybe someone else should go
All right, let's start with Cecil. Was it hard? Was it hard as a guy who had so much success in the major leagues to talk to independent baseball players?
No, I don't think that was the hard part. I think the number one thing that I really had to adjust to was really being a retired player. I mean, I didn't like the way, and we all, have our issues with the way we're treated when it's time for us to go home. But I had to get over that. I mean, I had a roommate, Cash Beecham, and he loved to eat my collard greens and cornbread. So he'd come over to the house, and he started talking to me about becoming a manager, about getting into baseball again. I was really not looking forward to getting into baseball. I was kind of cruising, just enjoying life. And so Cash was probably the only only teammate that can really talk to me the way he did. And he basically said, I have an obligation to give this knowledge back to these young kids. And I thought about that for a little while. I was probably hot, he just didn't say it like that. He had a little, a couple prefixes on that. But, and I thought about what he had said. It took me a few days to really just let it sink in. But, I really truly believe that's true, because when I first got to the big leagues, guys like Lloyd Mosby, Jesse Garfield, Cliff Johnson took me under their wing and really guided me in the direction to show me how to become not only a major league player, but a baseball player. And I think there's so many kids around this country, whether they're 10 years old or whether they're 26, 27 years old, we'd love to have the opportunity for any one of us to give them an opportunity to get some of this knowledge that we have. Because you know what? At this stage in our lives, that's all we have to give back to this beautiful game of baseball, is the knowledge, the lessons learned, the stories that we have. Those are the things that I think are more important than giving those kids a hidden lesson. I think it's those stories that we can tell, those situations that we were in at the plate, facing Roger Clemens. What do I do against this pitcher? What do I do against that pitcher? So in saying all that, I think I have got so much joy, not just being around independent kids, but when I go to spring training, whether I'm in New York at Legends Field, whether I'm in Lakeland with the Tigers, whether I'm up in Toronto with the Blue Jays, because I played for all of them teams and got a pretty good connection with all of them. I just like to give the kids what I got, man. I mean, I can't play anymore. I want to give this knowledge back. I had a kid last year who was a kid that I didn't think had an opportunity to make it to the big leagues at all. And I'm sitting at home and just watching, Sports Center, and I get a phone call. And this kid, Dexter Fowler, calls me and tells me that, Coach, I'm going to the big leagues. I mean, that is my satisfaction. That is my joy. Because here this kid started hitting with me when he was 18 years old. He's 21 years old. He has the opportunity to play in the big leagues. And this kid really had a pretty good year in the big leagues. Got a chance to go to the playoffs his first year. And, to me, that's what it's all about for us now. And it ain't about us talking about, what we did. It's about giving these kids an opportunity to get what we have to give them, and them guys taking advantage of what we got.
Pete, how about you? Are you enjoying being a manager? Go ahead, yeah. Do you ever get frustrated that, sometimes they can't get it? Like some guys never played it. Are you enjoying being a manager?
Yeah, I mean, it's I wouldn't know what else I would do. I mean, I've been playing this wonderful game since, I was a little kid, and I was fortunate enough to, get paid to do something I love to do. There's a lot of people out there that do something they don't like to do every day, so I feel very grateful and very fortunate to be able to do that. So, hitting the baseball is not an easy thing to do. Learning how to play this game is not easy. It's a game of repetition, and it's very, very difficult, and you have to work at it. And just like when you go work with a player, lots of people say that you have to earn the respect of the player. Well, the player has to earn the respect of the coach, too. And it's very important that you build that relationship. There's actually a young man here named Michael Conroy that played for me for 2 years. Stand up, Michael. Who's now a Brockton Rock Star.
You can stand up, Michael.
Yeah. I can tell you, Michael was the epitome of when they say that a team takes on the personality of a manager. As you watch Michael Conroy play, you'll understand what I say. I've never seen a player, never, not one time, not go 100% every time. Pop up, ground ball in the outfield. I mean, he is going 100 miles an hour. And if you stop, I'll make sure Newt snatches that uniform from your back. But that's what it's all about. I mean, just being there for a guy like Michael Conroy. He's a perfect example. This is a kid that was drafted very high, got to Double-A, still wanted to play, actually went to play for Butch. Butch knows him very well too. Butch actually moved him to me, and Michael hit 320, 330 for me every year. He's one of my best players. But as why I'm telling you this is that I really didn't do anything with Michael other than just talk to him and work on his being a little bit. All the physical tools are there. It's just about clearing all that other stuff out of his head and making him a better player and letting him be who he is. And I didn't really get in there because I know Michael had a lot of people trying to change you how to hit, try to make you something that you weren't. And Michael was a very good player, but Michael's a gap-to-gap guy, steal 20, 30 bags. I mean, can really run in the outfield. He really leads by example. He's a great guy in the clubhouse. I mean, it's guys like that who play with heart and passion why we still stay in the game and why I'm still in the game.
Well, nice round of applause. Rich, I heard you talk about Butch when he played, and those of us that remember the bone chips in the elbows, he hit the home runs, and what you did. And when I listen to all you guys talk, to me, the more you hang around baseball at any level, you always hear this term, respect for the game. I would imagine that's part of the joy of being a manager, of teaching. Like, I think of the things you went through, Butch, and that 1 year in Boston, 78, I believe you had the bone chips. And what it meant to you, you just said, Rich, as a guy coming up, a kid in New England that watched him play and then saw a little bit of him in the organization. How do you teach that? How do you pass that on to a player as a manager? Either one of you who want to take that.
You want me to go? I think all of us have an opportunity to work with young people, with our lessons, with the high schools that we work with the coaches that invite us out to run a practice or come out and talk to the kids. And I believe that all of us try to, in my opinion, try to instill to where the coach can hear us that, if you got a dream that you can play in the major leagues, then why not pursue it? I mean, all of us wanted to play in the major leagues. If we didn't know that we would be there, we believed that if we gave the effort to be there, that we would be then a Mickey Mantle, or I don't want to say Brooks Robinson was one of my favorite third basemen that I ever watched play, but play third base like Brooks Robinson when I was growing up. If you believe in your heart that you can be that, you can. We all run into young players that maybe don't have the same athletic ability as the next kid does, but maybe his heart's a little bit bigger. Why can't we instill in him the same kind of things? That if you believe that you have the opportunity, then pursue that dream, and hopefully the coaches, can feel that same thing. I played football for one of the greatest college football coaches, and I'm going to say this right now: Roll Tide, guys. We won the national championship this year because we kicked everybody's butt.
You spend more time in LA than you do in Alabama. Come on.
But I had the opportunity to play for the late great Bear Bryant, and one thing and I did this when I had the opportunity and the privilege to manage Boston. I believe from my heart to this day that you can ask any player that played for me, they will tell you how much I told them on a weekly basis, how much I cared about them. Coach Bryant used to tell us all the time that we'd watch the Sunday films of Saturday's game, and he would get to the door before he would leave. And he always had a big old long pell mell sticking out of his mouth. And he'd take it out and he'd spit that little piece of tobacco out, he'd say, go home, call your mama, tell her you're all right. And remember, I love every one of you, every Sunday. That's what he said. And I'm not afraid to tell my players how much I care about them. And what we need to do in independent baseball, which I know, and I never had a chance to manage against Cecil, just as him as a player, or Pete as a manager, but had a chance to manage him for a period of time and watch his career, but managing against Richie and the way he handles his team is that we have to teach life after baseball. You know, Bear Bryant taught us life after football because he knew people like me were not going to play in the NFL. But he knew that there somehow, some way, that maybe he would instill something in me to help me be a better person, to be a better man, to be a better father. So that's how I approach independent baseball. These guys are at a crossroads of, I'm either going to make it back to an organization or I'm going to go home. And I think the toughest thing for all of us, and Cecil said this, and it was the same thing for all of us when we start wanting to become managers or coaches, we have to accept the fact that we can't do it anymore. And that's a hard thing to swallow for a professional athlete. It's over. I can't do it anymore. So what we have to try to instill into these guys is something that after the game, you know what, there's still life and you can still do something special with your life. And these guys that come to independent baseball, God bless them for wanting that dream still. And I think that's what makes us love independent baseball so much, so we can kind of keep that light flickering a little bit to maybe give them that opportunity. I learned that from Bear Bryant, and if you know, I lost my job in Boston according to Peter Gammons because I told my players I loved them all the time. Well, hell, what? You know what? If that's the case, then I hope they fire me all the time I do that.
Roll Tide, baby.
Roll Tide.
Richie, what's your favorite part of it? What's your favorite part of being a manager?
I still really enjoy coming to the park every day. Can you hear me okay? No. Well, move a little closer. No, I do this all the time. I don't like microphones, and I don't like really talking that much either. I don't argue with umpires, and I think the people in this room could attest to that. The thing I like the most is like I almost can't explain it. I think Butch touched on it, I think Pete touched on it, and I think Cecil touched on it. It's neat looking into the eyes of players who think they want to get there. Their dream is still alive. And to go to them and give them the opportunity to go out there and play and have them look back at you and like, what can you give me? And it's like, no, I'm looking at you. What can you give me? Because you are just by being out there on the field. And I'm trying to. There's some kids you know that are not going to be able to get further than independent baseball. But the neat part about it for them is they'll be able to put it to rest. They won't have questions in their head. I didn't get an opportunity. They'll have that opportunity, and that's what independent baseball lets the players in the independent league do. Some will get back into affiliated, and those are the nice stories that you want to hear about, and all of them want to play in the big leagues. And you sit there and you look and you're going, how can you not want to come to the park every day for a kid that makes $800 a month, and he's not worried about how much money he makes because he's still living a dream in his mind that he might have a chance to get there. And the nice part about, again, independent baseball is they still have a uniform on. And we all know that if you're a baseball player and you still have a uniform on, somebody can see you play. And that's why I show up every day. Because I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know whose eyes I'm going to look at. I don't know if it's going to be because he played with me or the next guy he sees. But if that kid gets it, he won't have to be a great baseball player. And Butch touched on it. He's going to be a great person. He's going to be able to do something else with his life because he gets it. And it seems like when people get it, they enjoy this game so much more. And sometimes they don't get it when they're playing. They get it after they're done. And when they do that, they sit there and this light goes off and they go, wow, life is a whole lot different than I thought it was. So the parallel, baseball, it's really the game of life. There's plenty of ups and downs in it. And it's probably the most negative game that you'll ever be around. Because if you want to find something bad about somebody, it's there. We can't hide. You make the errors. You know, you make the plays, you hit the home runs, but there's a lot more failure in this game than there is success. So that's what makes it so hard, and that's what makes it so much fun at the same time.
We all just became Tornadoes fans, didn't we? What's that? We have microphones on both sides of the room, so raise your hands and we'll pick you up. Before we do that, two quick things. One is, a lot of Brockton people in the room, the Brockton High basketball team just beat Marshfield. They're moving on in the high school tournament. And there was one introduction we didn't do. Mr. Jack Eunice. Jack, please stand up. Former mayor of Brockton, president of the Brockton Rocks, still involved very much. And as the unofficial mayor of Braintree, I figured I had to introduce the mayor of Brockton. All right, raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll bring the microphone over to you. And we'll start right back there. Oh, you got one here? I'm sorry, go ahead. Say your name and ask your question and who it's to. Okay. We'll get back to you. Maybe not. What do we got over here?
My question is for you, Mr. Gedman. Do you feel that catching has become a lost art? And if you do, why? What are some of the factors that you think are causing that?
You have to understand I'm very one-dimensional. So you can't ask me two questions at once. You can only ask me one. Is it a lost art? I think there's a lot of very good catchers, but baseball's always looking for the next Carlton Fisk, the next Ivan Rodriguez, the next Joe Mauer. The problem is it takes so long for them to develop. I'll look at it, just an example. When I came to the major leagues, I was the youngest guy in the team. So the pitchers taught me how to catch. They told me what I needed to do. And what I had to do is build up confidence in them by being able to block the ball. I certainly didn't, when I first came to the big leagues, I didn't even know what the signs were. Very, very simple signs. Our guys only use one sign. It's incredible. Anybody, we're the players from Brockton, they'll tell you, they know every pitch that was coming because our guys can't figure out to change the different signs. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on. But more than anything else, it's that learning to trust each other, the pitcher-catcher relationship. There are things you have to, receiving you have to do, you have to, throwing you got to work on, pop-ups you got to work on, blocking the plate you have to work on. But more than anything else, you got to learn about the communication between you and the pitcher. What makes him tick, what makes him want to work, what makes him go. And you sit there and it's like, I feel like I'm a psychologist without a degree. Because if you heard some of the stories I heard after the games, it'd be unbelievable. And so that takes time. And that's probably what's the most difficult part about catching. So that's why there's not a whole lot of, and people don't want to do it. They don't want to catch. They'd rather play shortstop. Or they'd rather pitch if they could throw at 90. But you can't buy that at the store.
All right, over here, guys.
Thanks for coming, gentlemen. Two-part question for each of you. Number one, you played a lot of years, so what is the single greatest exhibition of talent you've ever seen, whether it's a throw, hitting it out of Milwaukee Stadium? In all your years, what's the most incredible feat of athletics you've ever seen? And number two, we'd love to hear as fans an actual clubhouse story that's hilarious, even if it's a little risque. We promise we won't tell anybody. So if you give us one of those, each of you.
I played for the 93 Phillies. I can't say anything.
Well, you can give us a Schilling story. I got a few.
Well, I tell you, as far as I was in 1985. I was a rookie, and probably out of place. I mean, I had some great players in Toronto, and we're in the playoffs in 1985, and we're playing against the Kansas City Royals. And I actually was drafted by the Kansas City Royals, but I don't know if John Schuerholz thought I was going to be a player, so he traded me after my rookie ball season. hit 20 home runs and river balls. John Sherhurst traded me to the Toronto Blue Jays for an outfielder named Leon Roberts. But anyway, I got to the big leagues in '85, man, and I was like, I was fired up, got pumped. I mean, we were the first Canadian team to win the American League or any pennant in baseball on that team, and that was the first year they changed the format from 5 games to 7 games, and we were up on the Kansas City Royals 3-1, and the Kansas City Royals had this cat named George Brett. And early in that game, George Brett hit a home run. Wow, home run. We were still up 5-2 to hit a home run. So Bobby Cox, who was my manager in Toronto that year, goes out to the mound and Doyle Alexander's pitching. So Bobby Cox tells Doyle, listen, do not give George anything to hit. Don't give him anything to hit. So Doyle Alexander is actually out there throwing George Brett knuckleballs off the plate and just messing around with him. I heard the biggest sound off the baseball bat I think I've ever heard in my life. Booyah! Left center, home run, George Brett. I mean, he was probably, to me, and I called George Brett later, I mean, that dude could just rake. I mean, he was probably one of the best offensive pure hitters I think I've ever seen. I think, to me, as a kid watching George Brett, and of course, they had so many great players in Major League Baseball. You go back, to the mountains, the Willie Mays. Willie McCovey was one of my favorite, but George Brett, man, was just one incredible dude. I mean, just off the chain. And I remember that game right there took the series to 3-2. And we go back to Toronto thinking that we got an opportunity to put him away. And, this guy just put on a hit clinic for the next 2 games, and they ended up beating us and winning the series against St. Louis. So that was probably, for me, I've seen a lot of stuff, but for a young kid, 20 years old, to see a cat put in work like George did, that was probably the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Made. It was actually filmed on ESPN one time. I think Seth remembers it, but I would walk around with a weight belt around my waist and get in the gym and start doing curls and stuff, and then somebody like Seth would come in the room and say, "Hey, Inky, you gonna lift them 3 guys again?" And sure enough, there's a rookie in there going, "No way, you can't lift 3 guys." And so Seth goes, "Oh yeah, you can. I got $1,000." And Seth will whip out like $1,000, right? And so here comes somebody else. Here comes Lloyd Mosby and Tony Phillips and Tram, and we'll have money flying all over the place. So in the meantime, we got this kid, and I think it was Travis Fryman, by the way. And we're in spring training, and so what happens is you line 2 of the biggest guys on the outside, and you put the guy that you want to get in the middle, and they interlock arms and everything, say. And supposedly I'm supposed to pick up the guy in the middle and pick up all 3 guys. Well, what's really going on is everybody's in the kitchen getting ketchup, mustard, shaving cream, spittoon box litter, and everything else. And so I actually stand over him and I start flexing, and all of a sudden the guy's on the end because his legs are interlocked, his arm, he's dead down here like this, can't move, and here comes the rest of the team just dumping everything all over him, and like the kitchen sink. And I'm going to tell you, it is some kind of funny when you see it in person.
Raise your hand and I'll come over to you in a second. Richard Butch, who's the most talented guy you ever played against? Or the other question, if you want.
An example of athleticism that we're talking about was in 1976 when I was called up, and we were in Tiger Stadium, and this was before Cecil was still drinking collard greens out of his bottle, because this was Jimmy Rice hit a ball. A lot of balls have been hit on the roof or over the roof in right field, but not too many in left, and he probably hit the most of them on record. But we're taking batting practice in Tiger Stadium, and Stan Williams was the pitching coach. Y'all remember big Stan Williams as the pitching coach, and he was a moose, and he threw batting practice. He tried to get you out. He didn't want you to hit balls. And Rice hit a ball on top of the roof during batting practice, and there was already like 30,000 people there. It was a Sunday afternoon. And the next pitch, Stan Williams drilled him in the ribs. So that's one of the biggest things of athleticism, that he's got the balls to do that to Jimmy Rice. Prankster-wise, Yaz was a prankster in our clubhouse. And back in the day when you could smoke all the time, whether it was in here or in the clubhouse or and restaurants, they had these big square ashtrays, probably 2 by 2, filled with sand, and they were all over the place for the writers or the players or whomever to smoke their cigarettes and throw them in that sand. Well, if you were getting interviewed after the game sitting at your chair, we didn't have the rooms that you go to where they interview you. You're sitting at your locker. And if you're sitting at your locker, Yaz used to get guys, if he would get rolled up newspaper and fill up that sand thing. And while all the writers, and in Boston, there's always a lot of writers interviewing you after the game, and the writers knew what was going to happen. I mean, this became a pretty much a weekly thing. And he would put those rolled up newspapers in that sandbox, and he would come up from behind, if you didn't know that he was doing it, because all the writers knew what was going on, he would light all those papers, and all that fire would come up around your ass. And this was pretty much a weekly thing. So in prankster-wise, Yaz might be one of the best, except for cutting your sleeves off of your coat.
Hands down, he was the best. Because I came up in 1980, and I was sitting in the bullpen one night, and Yaz wasn't playing, so he moseyed down to the bullpen. And for 9 innings, he threw pebbles off my helmet, and I didn't say a word. And after the game, he put his arm around me. He said, "You're going to be okay, kid." And I was like, "Oh, thank God I didn't say anything to him. I wanted to kill him." But then what happened, that was Friday night. On Sunday, we came walking in after the game, and he must have had a feud going on with Bill Campbell, and we had to get on our flight, and we got to put on our suit coats and ties and stuff. And so we look into Campbell's locker, and his pants were cut into shorts. His shoes were nailed to the floor. His socks, the ends of them were cut off, so when he pulled it on, the big toe stuck out. Also his pants, because he modeled for us, it was kind of great. When he pulled up his pants, the seam had been cut out of them too, so he had shorts plus a rip in the butt. What else did he do? I think he cut all the buttons off the jacket. But that's what he did. And some people would think that's funny. That's not very funny. That would have pissed me off.
Rich, back here. Didn't you... Over here, Rich, to your right. To your right.
I knew that.
I'm back here.
Well,
There you go. Way back here.
Hey.
There you go. Didn't you, wasn't your first major league at bat, didn't you pinch hit for Yaz?
Yeah, but I think he had something to do with that, Butch, you know. I was up, 16 days sitting there watching, and he had a sudden pain in his back, and the manager called down and said, "Listen, you're going to hit." Okay. And so when I got there, I said, "Who am I hitting for?" He goes, "You're going to hit for Yaz." So my first at bat in the big leagues, I pitch hit for Kaya Strimsky.
What'd you do?
Fly ball center field. Just missed it.
Of course you did.
Hi. I have a question about independent ball, directed at all four of you guys. Do you think there'll ever be a merger between the Can-Am League and the Atlantic League, and why? Why not?
No, I don't think so. I don't know about all that. I think the two leagues are what they are. I don't know if that's going to fly. I mean, I wouldn't mind it because I'm not in it anymore, so it wouldn't bother me. But I just want to say, this is the most I've heard Getty speak, I think, ever. I mean, he is jamming tonight. Yeah, give Getty a hand. Getty. Well, I got to tell you the story, though. When I was a young kid, and we were talking about it earlier. You know, I was 19, 20 years old in the big leagues, thinking everything was going good. And then Keeson and George Bell was having an issue in Toronto, man. It was like drop kicks and folks kicking with spikes, and it was kind of ugly. So we go to Boston, and we know it's on. It's going down. So Nipper's pitching, and Getty say Nipper wasn't trying to hit George, but George was moving all over the batter's box. George Bell, you gotta understand George Bell. He talked a lot. Oh, he talked a lot. So he was going down to first base after Nipper had missed him about 4 times. And this big guy, what was that guy's name?
Steve Crawford.
Steve Crawford came out of the dugout. I mean, you know, you go to Boston, you got a duck to get in the dugout. This big dude came out the step and told George Bell to shut the up. Now,
Shag, right?
yeah, you gotta understand where I'm at right here. So all of a sudden, there's a lot of chirping going on, and all of a sudden, the pile kind of goes out behind second base. So here I am, man. I'm a young kid, man. These guys, these grown-ass men are fighting. Boy, look here, I'm trying to stay out of a right hook. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, man, I see Groove, Don Baylor, coming out of the dugout. I just kind of peeked at him. I wasn't going to get in his way. I just kind of peeked at him. And Groove jumped in the pile, man. And this is when I felt, Inky, that I had to grow up and become a man. Groove jumped in that pile, and when that pile was over with, Groove was the last one to get up under that pile. I said, that's a real man right there. You do not want to get in Don Baylor's way or piss him off. No. And at that point, I said, okay, you know, there wasn't no fraternizing coming over to the cages. Y'all know what I'm talking about. No fraternizing, going over to the cage, talking to your boy, giving him a hug and nothing, because you might have to smoke him later. And I grew up right there. That was my grow-up day in the big leagues, when I knew that, okay, I might have to smoke Fred McGriff if I ever play against him, you know, and he was going to be my first roommate. So that story right there, that Groove was the biggest, baddest dude I think I ever ran into in my life.
Who was the craziest guy you either ever played with or played against, or craziest manager that whenever they talk, you didn't know, what's he saying?
I probably have the craziest guy.
Anybody else have a question, I'll come over to you. Raise your hand.
Yeah, I probably have the craziest guy. I don't know if anybody else played with this. A guy, a little second baseman named Casey Candell, played for the Astros. And Casey came up with his own Sunday program. He called it Naked Sunday. He would take BP buck naked before anybody got to the stadium on the field every Sunday. Every Sunday. I mean, no shoes, no clothes, and every Sunday Artie would be out there, Casey, get off the field! And Casey would run, you know, all you could see his white little butt running around the outfield trying to get off the field. He was one of the craziest guys I ever played with. He was a lot of fun. Butch knows him, but he actually played for Butch.
I'd like to get back to I think the question the gentleman asked was whether or not the Can-Am League and the Atlantic League would ever merge. Is that correct? What the question was? You know what? I really believe that an organization like the Brockton Rocks, that you know, the Atlantic League, we play 140 games. The Can-Am League, which I was involved in, the Can-Am League is 9,600. Is that correct? Is that still 94 games? I believe that an organization like the Brockton Rocks could do very well in the Atlantic League, only because the fact that you put, you know, 45 to 5,000 people in the seats pretty much every night. And when you're basing your salary cap, our salary cap for our league is $250,000 for the year, based on 140 games, which it's going to be less in the Can-Am League because of the less number of games. And so you have to figure out a way to make that. And the Atlantic League I was in the Can-Am League. There's a difference because we're not limited on veterans. Do I think it's better or worse? I mean, there's two different ways to look at it. The Can-Am League offers an opportunity for young players that have never played professionally to play. They have to have 5 rookies, and those guys, depending on whether they're out of the Frontier League or a rookie league player with an organization that gets released or whatever the situation might be, falls into a rookie status. I definitely think that there's that opportunity for a club that can survive that way financially. And I believe that Brockton Rocks, from my experience, has always been an organization that can do that. I really do. Do I think it's the best? Do I think the Atlantic League is a league where players want to come to get seen and get signed? Yes, because a player that organizations don't go look for A-ball players. They got plenty of those. They want to go look for guys that have AA and AAA experience to help their clubs if their young players don't do the job that they're asked to do, or they're not ready to do that job. So they come to the Atlantic League because most of those guys are AA, AAA, and in many cases ex-big league players. But I think there's a lot of, I think the merging, I don't know, but a team like this here, an organization like this, yeah, they do well.
Rich, I know you, over to the left here. I know you, I'm thinking of the crazy players that you might have played with, and I'm not calling Oil Can crazy, but Oil Can was unique, wasn't he?
Unique is a nice way to put it. Oil Can was, he was a wonderful personality. You know, when it came to pitching on the field, he had great pitching instincts. Off the field, he was dealing with another drummer, if you will. But all in all, great guy. Crazy, not crazy, but different. You know, just different. I think the culture is different for him here. Misunderstood a lot of ways. Very, very passionate about his baseball. The crazy guy I think of is Lenny Dykstra. I played with him just a short period of time. But he's crazy. Pete was crazy too. He's just acting like he's sane tonight.
Are we getting another
Anybody who's going to leave here and drive to Texas after driving here, I'll pass.
We got another question over here.
I've been thinking about many ways of asking this question, but you guys have come up through the minors, doing all this independent stuff, and you see players like J.D. Drew nowadays. Don't give a crap about baseball. They want to just make money, and they get all this stuff, and they don't work hard. Does that make you mad to see all these guys working hard, and then you guys, just to see J.D. Drew, someone talks about retiring 2 years from now, who's 30, how old is J.D. Drew? Talk about retirement in 2 years, and he's making $15 million a year.
Well, you know, I retired at 35. I mean, it's our fault. I mean, we've set it up for these young kids to really do what they do and make the money they make now. I mean, I don't blame J.D. Drew. You know, the game of baseball is a difficult game, man. But you know, I think the way we were raised in the game, and this is real crucial. I mean, I think this is really the evaluation of the guys that played before us and the guys that played before them. We played with a passion. The game of baseball was passionate to me. I mean, I didn't want to go out there and fail. I didn't want to go out to the field and embarrass myself, and I think my teammates felt the same way. I feel when I went out there to play the game, I went to play the game for a purpose. I wanted to win. You know, I took, you know, that, you know, from the guys that brought me to the big leagues, the Mosbys, the Barfields, the Bells, the Cliff Johnson, those guys that have, you know, been through it and really taught me, you know, what it was all about. You know, and Inky mentioned it real early in this conversation is, man, I played for my teammates. You know, there was days that Sparky would come to me and ask me to take a day off, and I would say, no, I ain't taking no day off. I played 162 games. I felt like somebody had beat me over the head with a drum, but at the end of the day, I couldn't take no days off because my teammates were depending on me to play. And that's the way I looked at the game. And I think nowadays, you know, I think that, you know, I don't want to talk bad about our players of the day because I think we have some great ball players and we have some great examples, the Derek Jeters of the world, who I raised. As a kid, used to listen to Mariah Carey music every day before he went to the field. We used to break his CDs and hide his CD players. It was terrible. But that's a great example of a throwback right there for me because that kid comes to play every day. And I know, you know, everybody on this panel, I mean, I know they did. I know when they came to the ballpark feeling bad. You know, how would it, I couldn't even imagine myself coming to the ballpark if Roger Clemens was pitching that day, which I was probably 5 for 60 off, coming in there saying my back hurt. I mean, I would feel terrible to I couldn't even look my teammates in the face. So what I'm saying is the passion for the game that we had, I think we've got away from that a little bit in this generation. But, you know, we've talked about the injuries that we've had up here and what he had to deal with in '78. I mean, that's passion. To go out on that field when you got bone chips in your arm that you know that any time that ball can go anywhere because if that bone chip grabs you, that ball's going to be flying, you know, into the stands. But that man came to the yard for one reason. His teammates depended on him to play, and he was going to find a way, whatever it took, to get out there and play. And that's why I can respect, you know, my soldiers. I call them my soldiers. Those cats 70s and 80s, man, them guys are soldiers because, you know, a broken finger here, you know, they just went out there to play, and it was a passion for the game. And that's why I based what I did on those guys that taught me, you know, what it really took to be a major league player. Man, I was not coming out of that lineup. If I was limping, I couldn't run anyway, so just let me hit. you know? I mean, that's just the way I looked at it. I wasn't going to, you know, steal 20 bases or 30. Just let me hit. If I can drive in that run late in the game, that's what you got me here for. So, game a lot different, you know. I just think, man, and Pete can probably attest to this. I mean, with that team in Philadelphia, I mean, you guys came to work. I mean, every one of y'all was crazy as hell, but y'all came to work every day. And that's what baseball to me is all about. I could not look at my teammates and tell them that I was going to take a day off because, you know, my thumb hurt. I had to play.
You know, any one of you comment on this if you would. What I'm hearing you say, Cecil, is when I'm on the radio oftentimes, at sports radio, people call up and they start comparing their professional athlete, professional baseball play. Oftentimes it falls far short. We can't compare in our normal lives to what you guys do. But to me, this is where it's analogous. This is where it can compare, is that respect. In other words, if you have a coworker that's the best salesman in your company, a lot more is expected. If he can go out and sell as much in one day as everybody else takes 5 weeks, he's more talented. Well, that guy's the same guy whose knee doesn't feel too well on a day when you're playing the Yankees. Anybody know what I'm talking about? But that's what I'm hearing you say, and that's where I think it is analogous to anything we do for work. And I guess if there's a question here, it's to any of you. Was there a guy, you mentioned Derek Jeter, Jason Varitek to me is one of those guys. Dustin Pedroia already is one of those guys. Was there a guy you played with, you had the utmost respect for, that you knew, use any cliche you want, he had my back, I had his back, or I'm not going to play with my semi-weak knee because that guy's out there playing. Whoever wants to take that.
I had one guy that I got a tremendous amount of respect for. As a matter of fact, from that '93 team, a guy named Darren Dalton. I know Darren's had a rough road here the last couple of years. I'm a little confused about it too, but there was one time I thought he was absolutely probably the toughest man in baseball. Darren had 9 knee surgeries on one knee. 9. I don't know if any of you could even imagine what 9 knee surgeries does to a human being. And he caught, I think, almost 90% of our games. And you know, we were picked to finish last that year. And we got to spring training. We had a bunch of guys that nobody wanted. Jim Eisenreich, myself, Milt Thompson. We had guys like Kim Batiste and Ricky Jordan, guys you probably wouldn't know, you know, if they were sitting up here right now. But we all kind of came together, and we had one guy who was leading, and that was Darren Dalton. Darren Dalton, literally, it took him 3 hours before game time and 3 hours after game time just to play one game. And he caught probably, like I said, about 90% of the games. And I remember one time, we're sitting in the training room. We used to gather in the training room, myself. Crucky had a lounge chair in the training room, by the way, in case you're wondering, with his little ice chest. And Lenny was over in the corner, twirling his hair over in the corner. And Dutch had his knees wrapped, you know. And actually, you know, one day, you know, Montreal was catching up to us. And this is in '93, and they're about 3 games behind us. And you know, they're a pretty talented team with Larry Walker and, you know, cast of characters, Martinez. I mean, they had a load of talent. And, you know, we were just a bunch of grinders, a bunch of blue-collar guys that went out there and played for each other. And all we had in mind was winning and being world champions. We didn't care whether we hit a $180 or we hit 330. Nobody knew their numbers. Really, the only guy that cared about his numbers was Kurt Schilling. You guys know about Kurt, you know. But we kept Kurt at bay, and you know, we had to put up with Kurt once every 5 days, and that was okay with us. But
still giving the ball in the big game, though. Which
oh, absolutely. That's why we loved him. That's the only reason why we didn't kill him. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. I sat Darren down. I'm sitting next to Darren, and we're drinking beers, and I said, Darren, I said, how do you do this? I said, you can't continue to catch every game. You got to give. You know, we had Todd Pratt was our backup, who was a rookie. He said, you got to let Pratt catch. And he looked me in the eye. He goes, you don't know? And I said, no. I said, you got to take a day off. He goes, no, man, I'm not taking a day off. It ain't about me. It's about you. It's about the rest of this team. And that's why I do what I do. And I mean to tell you, I saw Darren after Mitch Williams gave it the home run to Joe Carter. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that he moved for 7 hours, not because he didn't want to, it's because he couldn't. He had another knee surgery literally a week after that. And
Problem was the end of his career the next year. He couldn't catch and tried to play the outfield and probably ended his career. But that guy put his career on the line for all of us. And that's what the game's all about, guys like Darren Dolan.
Got a question over here for you guys.
My question is, with a lot of the newer rookie hazings, like, you know, the crazy haircuts and, you know, going out like, you know, a movie cast like Dorothy and the, you know, the Kansas movie, what were some of the best rookie hazings you guys saw when you were in the game?
The best what?
Rookie hazing.
Rookie hazings?
They don't call it that anymore. Dress-ups. Yes.
Yeah, I remember when I was called up, I went to, we had a, it was a day, it was a little time after I was called up, we had a day game and we had a charter flight to catch after, and back when we played, we were expected to wear a sports coat. You didn't have to wear a tie, but you were expected to wear a sports coat. There were no jeans, there were no flip-flops, you were expected to dress nice. And, you know, I was called up, so I had what, and it was probably the leisure suit era, you know, disco, all that stuff, whatever. And I never will forget that as the game was over, we're getting ready to dress to get on the bus after showering, and my coat didn't have any sleeves, and my pants didn't have any legs. And you had to wear that. You had to wear that on the bus, the airport, and on the plane. And yes, treated most rookies like that, you know. But the next day at the ballpark, when you got there, you had a brand new suit in your locker. That's what he did. I guess I don't know that we ever did any hazing.
I don't know if it was hazing, but I burned some clothes up. Burned a couple kids' clothes up, talking trash to me, you know. That's one thing, you know, when we were coming up, if the guys got on the bus, the veterans got on the bus, and they started jonesing about the young kids when we were coming up, me, Fred McGriff, Mike Sharp, and the rest of us, so Pat Borders, all us, that crew of Blue Jays, David Wells, you just kept your mouth shut. Just let them say whatever they wanted to say about you. Try to hide behind the seat so they didn't see you. But the new era of kids, I mean, they just a little cocky, man. I just burned this stuff up. I got some alcohol in the training room, went to the locker in spring training. I just doused the locker with alcohol and just lit it up. And let them know, don't talk to me like that. Who are you? You little maggot? But I like the fact you gotta talk to him like the people you talk to sometimes, you know. But again, I want to get back to one thing before we leave this house. Everybody forget who the manager is here in Brockton. He's my great friend, Chris Carmenucci. That's my man, y'all. Chris and I go back a little way. We got a mutual friend, Cass Beecham, and he's a little different, but he is our friend. And you know, Carmi was my general manager when I was in Atlantic City, man. And I tell you what, I had a great time in the Can-Am League. I mean, some of the cities we went to, you know, I love Quebec, I love Ottawa. You know, my city was, you know, it wasn't a baseball city, but coming here to Brockton, you know, seeing the owner's daughter standing behind me, wouldn't say hello because she was pissed because we was beating on them. All those things are good memories for me for the Can-Am League. I mean, I just like folks to get just bad faces when we beating on them. And that little gal, she was standing right behind me for about 45 minutes, didn't say not one word. I even tried to say hello. Just turned her back on me. It's all good though, I don't care. I'm still keep beating on you. But that's, hey, I'm telling you, this town is a great baseball town. You know, I really like coming here because number one, you know, it's almost like playing in Boston. You know, fans gonna jam you up the whole game, but you know, after the game, they can still have a cold one with you and talk about baseball. And that's what's good about coming to baseball towns. You know, going to New York, going to Boston, you know, going to Detroit. You know, those cities, those people know the game of baseball, and that's what this game was really all about back in the day. You know, going into Boston, they be tearing you up. But you know, you pop them a couple times, they get off you a little bit, but they still be on you. You know, and I think I love that about baseball, man. A fan's supposed to root for their own team, right? So you know, if you come to Boston, your bet not be sick because they're gonna wear you out. I mean, that Roger Clemens, man, I used to have nightmares, man. Couldn't hit that forkball to save my life. I was trying, though. I tried. Hey, Pete, I was trying to hit that forkball.
You and me both,
As we wrap things up, that was going to be my question. It's an obvious one, but you always get good in.
Can I say one thing? I have to tell you guys I want to say this because Chris Carmenucci is a personal friend of mine too, and I'll be honest with you. I've been in baseball for 25 years now as a player, as a coach, and as a scouting department. I mean, I've done everything under the sun. I have not met a better baseball person than Chris Carmenucci. And I just want to tell you, brother, thank you for everything you do for me and everybody else. Not one time has he ever said no. Not one time has he not taken the time to help out a young kid, whether he's on the team or we're trying to trade him. I mean, the guy goes above and beyond his call of duty and wears about 20 hats a day. I mean, I talked to him about 4 or 5 times. You can ask his wife, Lori. I mean, she just met me for the first time, and I talk to Nooch 17 times a day. So I just want to say to you, thank you, brother, and we really appreciate everything you do. Thank you very much.
Two last things before we wrap it up. I think you just mentioned it, Seth. I was going to ask you guys each who's the toughest pitcher you ever faced.
Oh.
You get some interesting insight. Was it Clemens for you, Seth?
I mean, I'll tell you the truth, man. That scoundrel there, boy. I still think I can take him deep, man, but I ain't got him yet. You know, I faced guys, Dave Stewart, 7, 8 home runs, you know. That boy that played for Toronto, Pat Hinkin, I killed it. I mean, but there was something about Roger. You know, one time Roger left Boston, they thought that Roger was done. So he left Boston and went to Toronto, and Tram was hitting. Alan Tram was hitting. And Roger was throwing 92, 93, you know, nice little speed. I get up there, Roger's throwing 96, 97. I'm like, damn, what happened here? You know, I just could not figure him out. I tried everything. I mean, I tried to think backwards. When I thought backwards, he was throwing me straight, the right way. When I was looking for the fastball, he was throwing me the fork. I mean, so finally, Sparky Anderson walked up to me one day and just said, do you really want to play today? I said, man, I'm going to take him deep today. It was just another 0 for 4. I'll tell you one story real quick, though. I got to tell you that Sparky Anderson really pretty traded, man.
We're going to start with the Sparky stories now. We'll go on all night with the Sparky stories.
I tell you what, Skip's in there with having his team meeting. He's hot at us, man. We ain't playing whooping crap. Guys all, you know, looking crazy in the face, coming into the locker room after partying all night. So Skip said, you know, you guys need to pick it up and start playing like you want to play the game of baseball, because you know what? I know there's a God up there, but God dog it, I'm God here. Sparky walked out on the field, about 5 minutes later, got hit with a line drive right in the back of the net. He didn't say that no more.
My favorite Sparky story has to do with Bill Lee, the 75 World Series. The Big Red Machine comes in here, and there's a rain delay, and they're going to Game 7 after the famous Game 6. And Don Gullett's pitching for the Reds. Sparky Anderson comes out, media gathers around, he says, and Bill Lee pitching for the Red Sox in Game 7. He says, I don't know about their pitcher, but after Game 7, win or lose, my pitcher's going to the Hall of Fame. So they asked Bill Lee about it. He says, I don't know about them, but win or lose, I'm going to the Elliott Lounge after this game. Do you guys have a guy that you'll tell your kids you faced him, or you don't want to tell your kids you faced him? Was there one pitcher, maybe that you caught, Richie, that was there one, or was it a handful of them?
Anybody who threw left-handed, I thought they were the greatest thing since happened.
And Walt Hriniak helped you a little bit on that.
Walt Hriniak helped me a little bit. One of the guys I really think of, I was very, very young when I came up, and I got a chance to face him in September of 1980, and I got a chance to face him a few times after that, was Rich Gossage. And the nice part was it was September, so they said he wasn't throwing quite as hard as he was throwing previous or earlier in the year. And we didn't have the radar guns that said what they were throwing, but I always considered myself a pretty good fastball hitter. And I had watched guys do this before, and I said, well, I'm going to check this guy out. And he's got elbows and arms and legs flying all over the place. And
And I'm standing there and the ball's in the glove and I hadn't moved yet. And I went, wow. He's flat out pregnant. And the aura of the Yankees and Gossage, and I'm like, he was like an old-fashioned gunslinger. He's going, I'm going to throw you a fastball, kid. I don't care who you are. And here it comes again. And I'm sitting there on the side trying to turn up the dial to see if I can catch up to it. So needless to say, I had one of those 10-pitch at-bats where I fouled 4, 5, 6, 8, fly out to center field, and by the time the ball landed, I'm almost at second base. And so I'm kind of staring him down, you know. I'm giving him that look, and the next day I go up to the bullpen, and Bergmeyer and Campbell said to me, so what do you think of Gossage? I said, I can't believe how hard he throws. You've got to be kidding me. He said, you should have seen him in May. You know? So, I mean, what do you mean? It's supposed to be harder. But the point of it is, he was going, you're not that good, kid. You're not that good. So just keep your mouth shut when I ask you a question. But that's how it was. It just kind of, but he was that guy. And the more and more I faced him, the more and more he threw fastballs, and you're sitting there going, how can a guy be a one-pitch guy, and then a guy like Rivera comes around, and you sit there going, how the heck can he do that? Everybody knows what's coming, and he still can't hit it. It's mind-boggling sometimes. But he was awesome.
I couldn't hit Jack Morris. I had trouble with most pitchers, to be perfectly honest with you, but I couldn't hit Jack Morris, and that was before he came up with his split finger. I had no chance against Jack Morris. You know, I went into the office at the end of '79. I said, Zim, I can't hit this guy. He said, just go out and play third base. You might get lucky. That's what I did. There's sometimes guys that you go to the plate, and it's a lot of times it's a mindset, but for some reason they couldn't pick up the ball on this guy, and you know, we all have hitters that we have a lot of success against, not that we necessarily feel comfortable. We see the ball well, and we square the ball up consistently, but there's, you know, when Jack was pitching, I was going 0 for 4. I accepted that. You know, the beer was going to taste the same after the game, no matter what. I didn't care, but I was going 0 for 4 against Jack Morris. I couldn't hit him.
You weren't the only one.
No, you weren't the only one. Hey, but you know that, talking about Goose, man, I caught Goose later on when Goose was in Seattle, and me and Goose had a great duel going. I mean, Goose is rearing back and throwing gas. He had slowed down a little bit, but the count got to 2-2, man. And you know, me being a smart hitter and all, I say, well, I'm gonna lay out over this plate, man, and catch that slider, and I'm gonna bust Goose to right center field. Well, Goose rears back, and here comes elbows and booties, and I'm out there looking for this slider, and here comes this fastball right at my head. So, man, I'm a big dude, I don't move that fast, but I move real good this time. And my helmet came off, and the ball went in between my helmet and my head. And I fell on the ground. I laid there. I was in shock that some gun that hit me in my head. So the umpire, Rocky, tapped me, Seth, you all right? I said, oh, Rocky, that some gun that hit me in my head, man. He said, Seth, he didn't hit you. I looked up, I said, I thought I was bleeding and everything. I looked at, oh, hell. So next pitch is full count. I said, I know this son of a gun gonna throw me a slider, but I ain't leaning back out over that plate. Strike 3, I tip my cap to him. I'll see your ass next time.
You don't want to top that, Pete?
I only have one. It's not as good as that one, but you know, when I was in Philly, I don't remember, it was 93 or 94, we were playing at Dodger Stadium. And before the game, we have a list of the pitchers, and you know, the scouts that go and see the teams beforehand would put up, you know, what the pitchers are throwing, and you know, what's their best pitch, you know, what do they like to throw with 2 strikes. So I'm looking, I got this new guy, and I'll mention his name later. And I go, well, average fastball, decent breaking ball, likes the, you know, average changeup. So. I'm coming up in the 8th inning. We're beating on the Dodgers. It's like, you know, it's like 14-2. And here comes this little scrawny kid in there, a little, I think, Dominican, or I'm not sure what he is. So he comes in there, and the guy says, oh man, I might be able to just pad these numbers right here and get me a little fastball right here. So I get in there, I say, oh, average fastball. So I figure he's going to try and get ahead. You know, he's a young kid, doesn't know what he's doing. I mean to tell you, he let go of that baseball. I never saw it. I backed out. Seriously, I backed out of the box, and I'm looking at the dugout, and I'm looking at Jim Fergozzi, and I'm going, that's about 96 miles an hour. I mean, average fastball. Are you kidding me? So I get back in there, I said, all right, well, maybe I'm just getting old. I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, he's probably going to throw me another fastball, right? Here comes this slider. And I mean to tell you, it came right at me. I ducked out, and it was strike 2. And I'm like, what is going on? Right? So I said, all right, well, now he's got me 0-2. I'm in trouble. Because he's got a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and he's got a slider like Dennis Eckersley. I'm in deep trouble here. So I said, all right, well, I'm just going to look fastball. He throws me a changeup. I seriously almost pulled my hamstring swinging at it, strike 3. So I walk back in there, and I go, what's that scout report? Average fastball. And it ended up being a guy Mr. Martinez, his pitches here in Boston, was who I was facing. He was as filthy as they come when he was younger, let me tell you.
All right, how about a round of applause for all these guys who talking baseball, huh? Very quickly, I'm going to read your names that won the silent auction. You can pick up the prizes out here in the lobby, right? Todd Egan, the Marco Sturm jersey, the Teddy Bruschi jersey, the Gerard Mayo ball, and the Kevin Falk photo. Paul Morrissey, the Bruins photo. Judy Moore, the David Ortiz autograph ball, and the Be a Bat Boy Girl at the Rocks game. Diane Souza, the Ray Allen photo. Mike Reynolds, Sharks of Martha's Vineyard print. Jeff Goff, Be a First Base Coach at the Rocks game. Joe Preston, Dustin Pedroia signed frame jersey. Tom Gill, the Dallas Thomas. Jay Borello, the Vince Wilfork football. C.J. Dunn, Jim Rice, Lee Smith, souvenir helmet and base. Cindy Miller, the Mike Lowell baseball. Chuck Hajar, is that how you pronounce it, Hajar? Rajon Rondo and the Patriots Super Bowl photo, and G. Watson, Cecil Fielder. Have a great night. Don't forget to support the Brockton Rocks. Thanks for having me out here. Take care, everybody.
Here we are at the conclusion of the Brockton Rocks hot stove here with the cherry on top here. We got waitresses all over the place. You can tell people are cleaning up. They had a good time, though. We had Butch Hobson, Pete Incaviglia, Big Daddy, Cecil Fielder, Rich Gedman. We got GM, Brian Vogel. What do you think?
It is. It's a lot of energy, and that's what you feel in the room. It's starting to clear out. Fun night had by all. Every year, we think we can't top it. 8th annual Hot Stove Banquet. I got to be honest, I thought it was the best yet.
I got to ask you, and I asked Chris Carminucci this earlier. We look back a couple of months ago, and we're like, what's going to happen with the Can-Am League? What's going to happen with the Rocks? You do that at the end of every year. You assess things. But here we are, and baseball a couple of months away, and you had a great time here. The house was packed. Your thoughts on the style that was done by Butch Stearns, a panel discussion?
Yeah, every year we invite a couple different guests to come out, and this year we had the panel come out overall. So it was a great interactive night. They spoke for over an hour, and versus hearing one story, one speech, it was really an opportunity for guys to feed off each other. Pete and Inky and Cecil, they played together. Yep. And Butch and Rich with the Red Sox system. So a lot of stories, a lot of ability to relate to each other. And then, these guys are all in the independent games. And, that's where they can relate to Brockton and certainly what we're doing here, what we're trying to accomplish. But, you talk about looking back 4 months and where the Rocks were and where we are now. This room is what, the Rocks is about. This is the energy. These are the people that, really serve as the base, the season ticket holders, our community leaders, our corporate partners. And that's something that we're really proud to have the support we had tonight. And on top of it, to raise some money for charity. And, that's what it's about. That's what the Rocks represent. And, that's what we're proud to do year in and year out.
And tell us who was able to benefit out of tonight's event.
Well, certainly we hope everyone benefited. I think the most powerful thing we do is put smiles on people's faces. And certainly listening to those stories was a great opportunity for us. But overall, Father Bill's Mainspring was our benefactor, presented by Webster Bank. And certainly tonight's festivities centered around our raffles, our silent auctions. It's going to be a small drop in the bucket, but every dime counts. And we know that year in and year out. And in this day and age, we can't do enough as a community to do that.
This is your chance to look in that camera and talk to Brockton Rocks fans all over the South Shore. Talk to them about the 2010 season and coerce them through the gates.
Well, you know, I hope I don't need to do any coercing, but, you know, baseball is here. It's right around the corner. May 28th, 2010, we're going to kick off our season. We're an exciting club this year. We've made a lot of roster moves, which is no different than any other Brockton Rocks year. We like to tweak our roster year in and year out, but you got a local flavor this year. You know, we just signed Mike Conroy, fresh out of Situate, Massachusetts, former first-round draft pick, and you know, you're going to see our philosophy heading towards that local talent. But more importantly, we're going to have fun this year. We're going to go out there, we're going to work hard, we're going to play hard, and we're going to enjoy it. And that's what minor league baseball in Brockton's about. It's about having fun.
And give them that magical number to find out about tickets and what games are available this season.
You bet. Stay in line with BrocktonRocks.com. Visit us online all the time, but certainly 508-559-7000. You want an answer to a question, you call, you ask for me, Brian Vogel, General Manager, and I'll get you one.
There he is, Brian Vogel, joining us. Thank you, Brian, very much. And that's it for On the Road with Whitman-Hanson Community Access. That's it from Campanelli Stadium. Until next time, have a good day.
Root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.